Well done, Persephone. Give yourself some DM inspiration.
I already have it. Believe it or not.
Uh-oh.
I
Uh-oh.
know.
Well, then I guess
Oh,
you're going to have to
no,
roll
darn.
yourself a D100.
You absorb too much
darn.
power.
Don't let Zazu roll it.
Oh. One moment. Almost got to do a quick little touch of math. Rip you open real quick. Put a number in you.
So we're back
Damn,
up.
baby. Okay, as indeed we find the Valiant Vanguard finding themselves about, a day or so away from Cradle Keep, having moved quite quickly across the main road on the backs of some speedy horses, shared by some of the members of the Valiant Vanguard. They decided not to take their grand carriage and cart with them, nor their new retainer. This mission was meant to be quick and offer, hopefully, a quick return back to the city they are currently stationed in. Instead, they find themselves actually located at the very edge of a great hill. It seemed like where the land that was rolling plains began to roll up into the rolling foothills of Mount Cot. You guys sort of found among all the places you were traveling this sudden surging rise in the cliffside, as if the rolling sort of steady slope of the land started to become harsher, something that Tamarkan became a bit more familiar with as he explored the mountains of Mount Cot. Seems like the closer you get to the mountains, the more cliff-like the hills become, until eventually you find yourselves in the great peaks themselves. But before you reach the mountain itself, you do find a great and risen hill, maybe about 50 feet in height, with these large jagged edges almost like carved along the rounded side of this hill, like a path, as if someone at one point had maybe forged a road, but where it leads seems nowhere. All you see are these sort of jagged drops and cuts into the rock itself, as we find ourselves here at what might just be the point of ambush that our Valiant Vanguard has for their quarry. As you arrive on the scene, you could see, like I said before, this mountain before you, beset by like small jagged rocks, goes up maybe in total height about 40 feet, almost 45. And before you can see we're maybe a road cutting up and around this hill seems to go slowly but steadily rising. There are these sort of small cliffs running up along the side of it, like small cuts and edges, but each one's only about 10, 15 feet tall. But among all the other hills that surround this area, before you get to the mountain, this one truly stands out the most.
This is going to be perfect. This is going to be perfect. Persephone's staring up at this really tall hill with a big grin on her face. This is going to go exactly as we need it to.
Is it? Because it seems kind of barren.
I meant my dream. Swiftall and I have been working for the last couple of days, and this is perfect.
So what?
Well, everything that happens after the dream is debatable, but my dream's going to be perfect.
Right. So what do you need us to do?
I need you at the highest point. We're going to have to put that pearl there. And when it gets dark, we're going to have to light it up. So, Marcon, you said you had that magic. Who had that magic?
I can indeed.
Make it light.
It only lasts
Marcon.
about an hour, though, so we must know that the beast is coming.
Okay. We can see the mountains, like Mount Cot.
Oh yeah,
over in the
you're left
south,
looking
right?
towards. So basically, you're coming in from sort of the southwest, coming into the side of Mount Cot. It looks like if you were to look up here towards the northern edge, you'd actually see where the hills start to become these sharp cuts in the cliff, maybe about like 200 or so feet away, and eventually rising up into the great peaks of Mount Cot. You can see, looking up, you can see where the mountain raises up higher and higher. You can see some of the short peaks hanging out in sort of like a rising spine of sorts, until eventually the clouds above sort of take the peaks above.
Okay. So Persephone's walking around, just kind of examining the terrain. She wants to memorize what this place looks like.
Sure. As, let's see. Give me a straight up just perception check, Persephone, as you're just taking in your surroundings. Okay. Just sort of breathing in the air of this place. It's It's a little strange. You're next to the mountain. There's a definitely strong sense of earth here. There's stones broken and scattered. Dust seems to be spilling with the ever so gentle breezes rolling off the mountain. Across the landscape, seems like lots of loose earth here. The first thing is that this almost musty smell seems to overtake you. It's like this place, there's like it's either something has been sitting here for quite some time, or maybe just the wind eroding the earth above has sort of exposed some sort of like loose or maybe olden clay that's just sort of filling the air with this sort of muskiness. It hits both you and Luna, and even I'd say Swift Hollow as you enter this place, just immediately sort of assaulting the nostrils.
We didn't see if we could do sense in the dream. Well, guess we're gonna find out.
As what are the rest of you doing? Sure. It looks like as you're looking down on this side, the ground here beneath this cliffside drops about 10 feet, becoming more level with the area you came through down here. But once it rises back up, it goes about 15 feet high, about level with you are. Basically, where you're standing and the cliffside you're looking at, there's like a sudden 15-foot dip valley between you. It's not quite as high as the height of this hill. That's sort of why this place sort of stands out. But it does seem like if you needed a quick, distance yourself and hide, it might be a decent vantage point. Seems to cover about 40 feet away from you.
So we place the pearl upon the crest. A bit of a beacon, I suppose.
Yeah,
Light
right
it up
here.
when you have done your magic. How do we watch the beast without being watched ourselves?
I wonder how long it would take it to get from the mountains to here. If it's during the day, the clouds would at least darken. A lot of the stories talked about when this thing flew into the clouds, they became really, really dark. Some people said it was going to rain, but I wasn't able to find anything to confirm that. So let's just assume that Obsidius makes the entire sky dark.
Yes, you were saying that was sort of what happens when he takes flight, right? So we should know of his approach pretty quickly, as I would think, assuming he does not come at night.
But how do we hide ourselves in the daylight?
There's not a lot of places to hide around here. Unless we're like surrounded by a forest. There's often that.
Let's see. You guys would have noticed walking up this actual side of the hill as some of you are taking in sights. It looks like this sort of rise here comes up about maybe 15 feet or so in height before it becomes this little higher area. But cutting under here, actually, it seems like there's this sudden dip, almost like a lip, as if some of the earth had been carved away, maybe about like 6 feet in height, and then just sort of carves widely, about 20 feet or so into the hillside itself, and seems to sort of slope downward. It almost looks like, I guess with the horse taking heavier steps getting up this road, you Swift Hollow would sort of hear this soft, like almost acoustic thudding sound. It almost sounds like the closer you get to the top of this mountain, the thinner the earth becomes ever so slightly. It might be there's actually some sort of tunneling or maybe a cave with this being one of the openings.
Oh, this spot here?
Looks like it's like a giant lip. Like as if you walked by it. It's like a 6 foot tall, like cliffside, but down there's no wall. It just seems to be carved into the earth, about 20 feet wide.
Oh, see, I thought that was just like a cute little shadow you were doing there.
It is a shadow, but it's also, a
hole.
shadow of a cave mouth. Yeah.
Not like a sun-based shadow.
I think we could maybe hide in there. What do you think, Samantha?
I do not know how far down it goes. It's like I sort of just try to take a moment to peer inside, and then still maintaining my my disguise, but allowing a bit of my hair to move freely to take advantage of multiple sets of eyes. Just try to peer down into this place and see what I can see.
I'm just gonna kick a
Sure.
small rock down into it.
Into the hole? Where you kick it? What direction are you kicking it in? Because it looks like, with you both peeking inside, it looks like this cave is only about, like, maybe 30-ish feet deep here, and then starts to, like, careen down to darkness about this way. Okay. Just take your rock and just... And Samantha, give me that perception check. Okay. So peering your eyes around, you can see immediately as the sun hanging overhead sort of cuts down and breaks a nice line between the light outside and the shadows inside the cave. You can see an immediate divide between your vision where the color immediately gets almost cut down the line in the middle to a grayscale. And you watch as Quill's rock scatters down to the deeper parts of this cave where it seems to rustle past what looks like a large boulder or so. And then you hear this as the boulder shifts in its stance and turns to face you in this deeper part of the cave. As I'm going to need some initiative rolls.
What was that?
Heyo.
All right, there's a living rock in there. Well done, Quill.
He's my speedy ant. What am I gonna do with my speedy ant again? What do I do?
Oof.
Swiftie, you're so fast. Look how fast you are with your 27.
So fast. Oh, and Swift Hollow. Not only are you not, in any way surprised by anything that would happen, you do have a special ability of yours.
Yeah.
Peter hasn't quite invoked it himself, but essentially, when initiative is rolled, you can immediately use your reaction to move up to half your speed, and you have attacks against you have disadvantage. Just letting you know, as your hand puppeting boy.
So, let's see. She sort of feels the rumbling of the earth underneath her, as it sounds like it's coming from this cave, as she is going to... It's half her movement.
Which should be 30. So 32, 15.
Okay, so it is half. Okay. She is going to... Let's see. There's just a little dip over here. She is just going to sort of dip right around this little lip here and try to start hiding a little bit to see what's going to burst out from this cave, although obviously But when her turn comes around,
Okay.
she's going to take the hide action, or I guess bonus action. She's a roguey girl. She's going to try to hide behind this rock, scooting herself back in, but keeping an eye out as she is going to prepare her, I guess, light crossbow, it looks like.
Okay. So once you shift to the side, your turn begins. Basically, quick on the draw. The moment you feel they're shifting to your senses, you're already on the move. So now we come to your turn, Swift Hollow.
Yeah, that's what I meant. On her turn, she is taking a hide action behind this rock and preparing. I'm actually going to guess she has throwing knife. Weapons are named.
She's got a crossbow.
I don't know what they are.
She has a light crossbow on her person.
What are these two other things? Aren't these? They're short swords, aren't they?
Yeah, she has
They're,
a pair of swords or a pair of knives or whatever.
She has a light crossbow, a simple short sword, and she has a pair of specially magic daggers.
I feel like you're trying to hint at me to not say fucking anything, but
No,
sure.
I'm just saying what you have.
Well, Samantha says a living rock, so she's gonna pull out one of her magical knives and prepare to throw it if she sees some hostile creature emerge. And yeah, I think that's all she's gonna do.
Okay.
Stealth check.
Give me a stealth check. Nice. As you find yourself immediately sort of blending in behind the cliffside, and with your weapon ready to strike out at whatever, I guess, strange thing pulls itself out of this cave, as Quildor, with your eyes set on this thing, peering directly into the darkness, you can see this mound, this gray blob, this almost like boulder-looking thing, sort of turning and unfurling itself to a much larger size than it appeared before. You can see these small but long and thick arms with claws sort of clattering to either side of it. And you realize the gray, almost stone-like texture you see inside is only a product of your dark vision, as this thing turns and inside is the soft glints of sunlight reflecting from the inside to its eyes reveals this sort of soft, beady gold as you are staring down the maw of what has to be at least almost a 20-foot long, maybe 8-foot tall, no, about 6-foot tall lizard of considerable size, sort of housed inside the darkness. What do you do?
Can I tell, like, how far away is he?
It looks like inside the cave, it's about 30 feet away, but then sort of dips down to maybe about 5 feet or so as it seems to slope down to the mountain. It seems like it's turning around to face you.
Okay. Can I use the bonus action and then hold my attack, or is the bonus action part of holding the attack?
What do you want to do?
Go to front line and then wait for this creature to come at me and attack it?
Sure, you can do frontline fighting style and use your action to hold an attack.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
All right, so you defend yourself, pull yourself into a defensive stance, ready to strike whatever comes, while you sort of poise yourself and ready. If this thing gets within range, you're gonna swing away at it, right?
Gonna stab it.
Alrighty. As indeed, this thing rearing its head towards you, you can see its mouth open wide. And it comes charging towards you. I guess it would go after the closest thing, so eyes would be set over here at some... can you get there? Yeah, you can. About here to Samantha. You can see its head careening towards this woman whose head's peering inside, but it comes right in your range, Quildor.
Oh, swing.
All right. Ooh, as that swing will connect, the blade carving into his side, hitting the sides of the scale, seeing your blade sink past the material and cut into his flesh. But it seems like he is considerably hardy.
I gotta swing
With
again,
Hollow,
right?
we'll see its head poop out.
It's my extra attack?
You would see its head popping out, but it would have about maybe 3/4 cover, because that's all you can really see.
We get our extra attack on a held attack in this game.
Yes, you do. Mm-hmm. You certainly do. Ooh, as that one will come slicing into the other side, it seems like it hits into the sort of similar spot. Not quite able to get past the scales, but you carve into the same wound and wound him even deeper, as that will connect and do a good amount of damage.
Come at me, you freaking beast!
To get to steal flavor a little bit, a Swift Hollow pulls up 2 daggers and with one swift motion throws them both at the same time, as it seems like one almost spins directly underneath the other, as it seems like 2 feathers fly through the air towards this creature. So I'm assuming she's attacking with advantage?
Yes, you do, because he's not looking at you. Seems like his head's now careening towards Quill instead of its original quarry.
Let's see if I find the right button.
Yeah, that's what they're called. They're called birds of a feather.
Ooh, as you see like this thing's head peering around the corner, getting ready to bite at Samantha, the blades go flying with some expert precision, using their sort of their actions as a distraction. But the head immediately careens towards Quill after he strikes into his body. You can see a spray of blood come out from the opening of this cave, and the swinging of its head causes this thing to sort of pull its head to the side, and where its head should be is now sort of in the way of a rock. And those rocks get clattered against the knives, rather, clatter against the rock side and sort of bounce away. If it wasn't for that cover.
Can I take that back as I'm reading more of the magic items? She just throws 1 dagger.
Sure.
Apparently she needs to be holding the other one, so I'm not going to just throw away both of Peter's daggers.
Well, doesn't she?
1 dagger.
She get advantage?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
rolled
she did.
twice.
Oh, okay.
It's just 1 attack, even if she's throwing
When you
both
take
of them.
out one of the daggers, the other dagger just comes out with it.
Yeah, but she can call them back, but she has to be holding one of them. So if she
Mhm.
throws both of them away,
Okay, yeah.
she's got to run over him.
Mhm.
Peter would know that.
Yeah, so she just throws 1
So
dagger.
one of the daggers thumps into the stonework. It seems like that if he didn't have that cover, he'd probably got struck pretty heartily by that knife. But yeah, Samantha, you see this thing crawling towards you, but immediately as Quildar steps up and swings at its body, the giant long neck careens towards him. As Quildar, there's a bite coming at you.
I lied. She's an elf.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Never mind.
Oh, Swifthall, I'm
You
sorry.
with elven accuracy.
Just get out the javelin. Take out the javelin. for me. I believe in you.
The head turns and bites at you, Quildor. Chomp. Ooh, but fortunately, how do you defend against attack? This giant mouth large enough to take most of your body coming after you.
So as he's coming after me, I'm going to kick up some of the rocks as it's going to connect right in his little nostrils, which causes his head to tilt up a little bit higher as it bounces off of the roof of this cave.
Nice. Sort of distracting it with a spray of rocks, immediately pulls back away from you, and then immediately its head careens again and tries to chomp at you one more time. Ooh, the same thing, not able to get at you.
Move out of the way.
Nice. As this thing starts pulling its head around, you can see its tail behind it, trying to find room to whip outside of this large cave, but sort of a bit condensed in here. It seems like you sort of got it trapped in your position. As from, let's see, Luna will be able to pick it up, as well as Samantha with your snakes picking up what some of your hair sort of twisted aside to the northwest. As from up to the farther end, the lower part of this hill, something you sort of may have seen by walking past, another deep shadow along this side, as it looks like instead pulling up itself from the edge of this hill, claws clattering strangely accurately along the edge of this hill, is this creature, another one of these large lizards. As you see, like, it almost looks like this would be a bit of a challenge for it to actually climb up, but instead it puts its claws on the edge and just easily slithers and slides its body to the edge as it pulls itself and makes it, just about here, not quite close enough to get. But you can see, though its jaws aren't close enough to hit you, Samantha, its body immediately turns. You can see where most of its length comes from. Not from its bulk, not from its arms and legs, but from this long and winding tail, which just seems to spin and try to whack at you from about 10 feet away. As we get a whack. Ooh, how you defend against?
Yeah,
this massive tail swinging overhead.
Reeling back from this first one coming up and trying to snap at me, but then going over to Quill, and then thankfully I just get a little bit of snake sense from one of them, from Cody looking to the left and seeing this one coming up, and I just duck down as quickly as I can, sort of coiling myself up, getting ready to spring backwards away from these guys.
Okay. As again, its body begins to swing, you duck underneath, and you see its body sort of catch itself for a moment, and then immediately pull itself back and just try to whip its tail down on top of you with its second attack. Woof! Ooh!
Shouldn't have
And
crouched!
as you crouch down, pulling yourself back up, this massive tail comes crashing down on top of you, doing, hey, not too bad, 21 damage as this massive, like, club of a tail whacks into you, and I'm gonna need a strength saving throw. Ooh, yeah, as the tail hammers down on top of you, your legs give out from underneath you, and you're down on your hands and knees. This creature begins to pull itself closer, ever so bit. Tamar Khan, you see these lizards crawling out of the hill. You've seen these before. They're of considerable notability, not so far of the western side of Moby, more so the eastern side. These creatures known as Highland lizards. They are notable in the lands known as the King's Lands, where they are often bounding with great and powerful creatures. What are they doing so far here? Well, maybe some have migrated, but they are considerably dangerous, like to nestle into hills. What do you do?
And what are you doing out here so far, where's my precious? As he runs to the top of the hill, looks past Persephone. Don't mind me, as he pulls the needle out of his belt as it extends to its 10-foot long reach as he leaps off of this hill, as he sees the other creature, its head poking out of this thing, about to chomp down Samantha, and you can just feel wind pick up and wrap itself around his log rod as he just swings it wildly across as he tries to connect into the side of this creature's head, as the wind just seems to pick up and just crush across and pound into the neck of this creature as well, as going to invoke a little bit of my boon, a little bit of my hunter training, to thin the horde as I'm striking out with my iron bar present. First one on the
Nice.
left guy. Only
Ooh,
14.
striking down, this thing actually batters into its body. You feel the staff hit heartily, but this thing is also quite big. They're not quite able to really break through its initial defense of both of its strength and its scale.
As the wind passes through and batters into the next one, 17.
Ooh, but with that extra momentum, sort of using it to bounce the weapon off of one to the other. If you didn't have this weightlessness when you hold this thing, that ability to immediately shift its weight to strike, I think it would have been a little hard to break through this thing, but you strike true as you strike the second one. Ooh, doing 8
Crunch.
damage, nice.
Crunch into the side of his neck as I land strangely quietly as the wind around my staff seems to whirl around my legs as I land skidding to a stop as I turn and kick up into the neck of this creature. Alright, let's have a bounce, shall we? As I try to land a leg into the side of its neck.
Ooh, as that will connect.
Crunching up into the side of its neck as I reel back and as a bonus action just land 2 fist strikes into the side of this thing, holding my staff in one hand and just pounding into its chest with the other as spin the key and activate a flurry of blows as I just try to pound and break the scales with my bare fist.
Nice. Ooh, as both of those will connect, you found your mark striking this large creature. Nice.
Just with that last strike, I just twist my fist ever so slightly, sending a shock of ki up through its body, trying to stun its large form.
Alrighty, as its body, suddenly that pulse of ki runs through. You see its scales sort of shiver and its eyes go dead for a moment. But 13? What's your save?
No, 15.
Nice.
Hey!
As immediately the mouth opens up as if to bite you, but then you see sort of the tongue hang out loosely as it tries to keep itself level, almost resting on its belly, seemingly dazed.
As I raise up my staff in 2 hands now, going into a defensive position. Well, I'll leave the other one to you. I think I've got this big bastard. So I think that's my turn.
All right. Persephone, you're about like 10 feet or so above an elevation the rest of the group. You can see down below the cliffside itself, this massive head snapping out at your allies, and Tamar Khan seemingly tackling one of these large creatures all by himself.
Well, Persephone, seeing the battle, she looks over to the mountains in the background and then up at a sky, and then her grin just stretches. I know you want to do this alone, but I need to do this, as she's going to grab hold of her crystal and start casting her magic, and the clouds are going to go dark as she's going to cast Call Lightning and have lightning strike down upon this lizard here.
Ooh. As immediately your
Automatically
cloud
fails.
forms up overhead, swirling, forming its shape. And what was it like when you call down the lightning? Is it just a lightning bolt?
Yes.
All right, just immediately crashes down on top of this creature's head, which fortunately, even though it's only about 6 feet tall or so, it hits down, and immediately the burst of lightning is just far enough away from Tamar Khan and the rest of your allies to save them from the explosion as it takes the full 13 damage.
All right, and she is going to move a little further from the edge. Here is fine. Just to get a better look at things so she's not flushed with the other side of the wall. And that's going to be my turn.
Nice. Okay, Okay. As Aluna, you see your allies are immediately tackling these massive creatures that pull themselves out of the hill. One of them looks like it's unable to move, just sort of tossing its head back and forth. The other one's tackling, looks like Quill, no longer after Samantha, but you're only about like 5 feet away from it. This thing's teeth can lash out at you at any time.
Staying where she is, Luna is going to pull out this strange-looking rod that she just received, as she's going to point it at the creature that's in front of her, and on each side, this cloud of darkness will start forming as she will shoot out a chaos bolt. She'll twin cast it, one at this guy, then the other one at the other guy.
Nice. Give me those attacks. One with normal, one with advantage.
So here's the normal one.
Ooh, that'll connect. Let's see.
Just 8 damage. No.
Okay. So 4/3, that is either force or fire damage.
To do fire damage.
Nice. What's it look like when what's your bolt look like when you fire it, and what does it look like when it transforms? I want to hear your description of this.
So as the cloud kind of travels, it'll wrap around the creature's head before actually turning into whatever element was chosen.
Gotcha. So the cloud forms around its head and immediately sort of manifests chaotically into a flash of fire that burns it. Now give me that second strike against the other creature with advantage, as he is unable to move and freshly struck with a lightning bolt. Ooh, that will also connect. 3 or 8 fire or thunder damage.
We'll do fire again.
All right, another cloud flying by. This creature unable to try to pull himself away or defend, immediately flashing with fire around its head. Its freshly lightning struck head. Poor guy.
I could go for some roasted lizard.
All right. Anything else you want to do, Luna?
That'll be my turn.
All right. As Samantha, down on your knees, but it seems like your allies jumped around to come to your defense at the last second. Oh,
Can't hear you.
can't hear you, baby.
Oh no.
Now I can.
That'll be the last mistake you ever make. As Samantha is going to rise to her feet, and as she does so, a scepter already in her hand, as almost always is, and she'll reach down with her left and pull out a small gift from a friend and cross it behind her scepter as she's going to try to call upon its magic as 2 green snakes seem to come out of the back of her cloak, almost like her hair, but this time conjured out of energy, and then 2 more seem to come out and join it, and as they look at the lizard that just smacked me down onto the ground, you can see them just go from this bright shimmering green and then just get wrapped in shadow and fire as they seem to almost just engulf themselves in black flame and turn into these raging snakes that lash out at this thing, trying to hit it 4 times and send it flying off the mountain. As I am going to use the Protean Wand to quicken cast Eldritch Blast and use my action to cast Eldritch Blast again and send 4 bolts into this guy.
Nice. Pulling out both your rod and the wand, crossing their magics, combining your strange serpentine eldritch arcana with the shadowy magic seem to be instilled in this wand. 4 blasts coming flying at this creature, who is quite an easy target. Each one, I'm assuming, just trying to push him.
Send his ass flying.
Ooh! Juicy mama.
As each one just seems to impact and rip away chunks, sending it flying further and further and further and fucking off the mountain.
So Jordan stole all the good D20s tonight.
Yeah. I'm assuming you stood up first.
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
I was pulling up the wand as I was standing. I already had my scepter in my left hand, and so I kept the wand at my waist.
All of those will hit. Give me those damage rolls. Let's see. All right. Let's see, 9. Nice. How do you want to kill this thing?
Each snake just wrapped in these black purple flames, like just latches onto this thing and tears a chunk off and goes flying off. Each one pushing it further and further back, trying to slam into it while it's in midair and just send it careening off the map. Will it take it off there? Let me see.
You see this thing get blasted to the side, immediately get pushed away. You can see it get almost like pushed back towards the downward slope, knocked off its own feet with considerable force, and immediately the next strike hits it, and it goes turning upward side down, flipping in the air. Another strike, bam, hitting it again, and finally, bam, hitting one last time as this thing goes flying with considerable momentum past the hillside, past even to the cliffside where you were looking at before, and eventually just falling down, hitting the side of the rising cliffside of the mountain, and then tumbling away. It seems like you just launched this thing off the entire hill with a burst of magical force.
I just turned.
As the rest of you see a lizard literally like twice the size of a horse just get bulleted off the hill.
And Samantha
Does
just
it?
turns to the other one, knowing almost full well this thing won't be able to understand it, but she doesn't care. She's pissed. And just in Draconic, now you're going to join that thing. She says that to the other one. Just gonna adjust myself into a 5-foot square and in my turn. And take this prone symbol.
All right.
With me.
Why would you do this, sister?
Hey, I thought about
Alright,
casting animal
as-
friendship, but it's snakes only, not reptiles.
Gotcha.
I went and
Right.
checked. I was like, is it reptiles? Can I have little
You can't
lizard
talk to
boys?
reptiles though.
Can talk.
I can. I mean, I just said it in Draconic. I don't know what you want from me. Try to be intimidating.
Lizardese?
I definitely was
You-
trying to be
you do
intimidating. If you,
Lizardese.
yeah, I guess he would. Yeah, I always have permanent speak with animals. I forget it's like literally speak with animals. So yeah,
Yeah.
I just say that in Lizard Draconic, and now you're going to fucking die.
Yeah, you just stick out your tongue, and that's how
Yeah,
it works.
start speaking parcel tongue.
All right, as Tamarkan, you can see where this creature was flying, tumbling down the hill. Kind of a hilarious looking sight. You do see more of movement crawling itself from that cliffside, although it looks like a larger mound, like a larger creature pulling itself out, but then you realize it pulls itself into pieces, and you realize, oh, there's a reason why there were probably 2 of these lizards here, as pulling themselves out one by one in their movements, smaller in size, but still of considerable mass, about the size of a horse. Only about maybe 4 feet tall in height, but long. These large lizards, infantile in their sort of form, but still quite deadly, start to make themselves known, pulling themselves up and over the cliffside. As so do
Oh!
you.
It's a nest.
Don't you just adorable?
As they start making their way towards you, about here and about here. As this creature comes running forward, this one's also going to be running, making about, let's see, about here.
Comes in.
And you only make it about here. As 2 bites coming at you, the closest creature, not even really aware of that, it looks like one of their maybe mothers or fathers had just been annihilated. As you are going to have 2 bites coming at you, Tamarkan.
My staff to defend myself.
Cha. 21.
Just enough to get past my defenses.
As one of these bites comes careening at your side, getting underneath your staff and doing 6 piercing damage. The other one reaching up and trying to bite you as well.
As that one, I turn away from this creature as it just barely clips onto my side. The other one, I'm able to deflect away its blow, and the wind sort of picks up underneath my staff and just propels it up into its chin as I strike it with my defensive posture as well. With my
All right.
17?
Ooh, as that will connect. Give me that strike.
Ooh.
As that blow. Ooh. Which one are you striking? Top one or left one?
Top one. I'm assuming.
As they struck, gotcha. As there's been a key point to attack and retaliation.
I am.
Isn't it when they miss?
Yeah, he missed with his 9.
Okay, so you're good. Yeah, gotcha. Want to make sure. Yeah.
I
As this guy comes-
assume the bottom one attacked me first.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I want to remember your ability. As this creature misses you with your strike, but you're able to repoise your weapon and strike down heartily. As that blow, again, it looks like you're just poking him with your staff in the head, but it feels the full impact of that incredibly heavy weapon crashing into its forehead. Its jaw immediately smashing against the ground, but it manages to pull its head up just barely to keep itself standing. As let's see, Ooh. Okay. Inside the cave, Quildor and Luna and Samantha, and I guess partly Tamarkan, you can see more of these similar shapes moving behind the large mother in the shadow. Not quite able to make out its position as this thing's basically filling the entrance, but it looks like there are more of these things inside. And Swift Hollow, down beneath this cliffside, you can see cut along the edge, just a small opening, maybe someone could squeeze through. You do see and feel some movement approaching quite quickly as this face just barely registers and peeks its way out, trying to get at least a nibble at you. As it seems like this cliffside you're sitting next to is actually a small opening. As it's gonna go for a bite. Achha! 19.
Ooh, pretty sure that's gonna get her, but Oh, she can't use her reaction. She held her action.
She can.
To
She can.
protect.
Oh wait, no,
She
you
already-
did. You held your action.
See,
Yes, true.
I thought you used your reaction also to
Fair
move
job.
at the start of combat.
Yeah, but then you got your turn.
Yeah.
That's right.
So he did.
Reaction
yeah, that's
per turn, but then she used another reaction, so she
lots
ain't
of
got
reactions. As these jaws will sink down and catch you, but just barely, catching you on the edge of your boot, basically, sinking 3 damage into your foot.
one. Ooh.
All right, and that will take us back to you, Swift Hollow. As you take 3 damage, these teeth sinking into the tip of your boot, and you pull your foot out of its mouth as the thing, yes, still snapping through this opening.
Doesn't particularly like this. She is going to break away from this thing. As a bonus action, she's just going to disengage action, and she just hops her way out of this cave entrance away from these biting jaws, sort of flashing a blade in its face, just blinding it ever so slightly for a second before getting away, and she will start charging her way up this hillside until she gets in sight of this creature down below, as she is going to call back the dagger that she threw before. I'm assuming it's a free action? Question mark?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So
Free
the
action,
free
or
action.
basically your item interaction.
Item interaction to call back a dagger, as she is going to. It's just once per turn, though, I think. She is going to throw one dagger at this creature next to Tamarkan. Seeing that it's distracted with Tamarkan, she seems to find a creature that, seeing the blow that Tamarkan landed on the other one, these things should be easily dispatched. And an easy blow for an assassin, aiming straight for the eye. She fires off one of her birds of a feather.
All right. 14. Ooh, 14 will connect. As this thing's large body and low form on the ground makes itself a pretty easy target. Throwing that knife at this creature.
Sorry, Peter. I'm trying to roll out like garbage. The dagger sinks into its eye. Ooh, rolled terrible.
How do you want to kill this thing?
Nice. But just enough as the dagger just flies through the air and sticks right into the eye and just sort of cuts out the side of the face as the blade just sort of slices in and just almost the blade itself just slides outwards, as it almost looks like the back of the blade is now inside the creature, the blade sticking out, almost ready to just be pulled out easily enough. As I think that's her turn. Yeah.
Bonus
Bonus
action,
action.
disengage, attack. Mm-hmm.
Yep, I'm good. I think that's right.
Nice. Alrighty.
Yep.
As we come to Quildor, sitting in the mouth of this cave, still sort of keeping your shield between this creature and your allies. Seems like it's been harrowed quite both by fire and your blade, but it's still standing strong. And it looks like there's more creatures sort of shuffling behind this thing, but you can't quite make out where they are. This thing's basically filling the entrance of this cave.
Okay. Let's find the entrance. I am going to continue my front line, and I'm going to swing out at this creature with my sword.
All right, give me that swing. Ooh, a 20 will connect. Carving deep into the flesh and ripping through scale, doing 14 damage. Nice.
I'm gonna swing again.
Ooh! This time,
As
how do you
this
crit
time I
thing?
just know, like, I've figured out the weaknesses in his scales. As he's beginning to thrash around, I'm going to cut right underneath his large front leg, getting right into the crevice and just nicking an artery as I swing upward.
As you run up along its sort of stubby-looking leg, this red spray runs up and hits the roof of this cave mouth and just puddles against the ground as this thing pulls itself back with a great limp.
Indeed, as I know there are more enemies coming, I am going to swing even faster as I move into an action surge and swing out
Nice.
again.
With the first one coming down, it sort of pulls itself away in pain and clashes against its scales, just the edge of your magic sword. Not able to really do it on that strike.
I'm gonna swing again.
Ooh, as how do you want to kill this thing?
As I know there are more creatures coming, I'm going to just stab right into its throat and just twist. As I pull the blade out, I'm going to move right there in the hopes of holding the line for my allies.
All right, this massive creature's body immediately slumps forward, and after that devastating cut, it too falls and hits the ground, still sort of half covering everything behind the cave. It's basically, half its height while it's crawling through. But even as it slumps on the ground and goes limp, you can see the shapes of the things inside beginning to swarm their way out. Looks like there's about 5 more of these things pulling themselves out of
Persephone,
this cave.
no! They're down below her.
I know.
Yeah,
they're
they're
dead.
underneath the surface.
As you are dead, and you are dead. Tamarkan, one of these creatures that was just assaulted at you, tried to assault you, bit into your arm, immediately got thunked in the eye with a knife and fell dead.
Well, Snook will don't worry, I'll get rid of this quickly enough as I twist my staff around, relinquishing my defensive position as I just try to bring it up underneath the leg of this creature that I already struck once before. Just tried to trip it upwards and bashing into the upper side of its neck, almost flipping the entire thing over before the wind picks up and almost just carries my staff down onto the head of this other creature. So I just take a half step, but the reach of my staff is easily enough to catch them both as I strike out with my iron bar.
Nice.
Ooh.
12 swinging up. It just seems like as you're sort of, this thing's sort of anticipating your attack, already wounded, trying to pull itself away. But what it can't anticipate is the sudden extension of your staff to a longer reach as you swing and connect with it. That's how you want to
Hey.
kill it.
No AC, boys. As, like I said, just crunching up underneath its leg and chin and lifting, as it feels like the wind itself lifts this thing up off of its leg and then just tears into its neck as it flips over and the staff just comes clambering down onto this other creature. Ooh, there we go.
Ooh, and that will connect too. As then crashes into its head again, the weight taking this thing almost all the way to the ground with it, but it's still standing. All this time you see it pulling itself away, almost cower, like as if it's fearing.
As I bring the staff down to the ground, just bashing across its face, I use it as a bit of leverage and just wheel myself, kicking this thing into the face as I just fling myself towards it with an unarmed strike. Hey.
Oop, that'll connect. Ooh, how do you want to kill this thing?
As both my feet just clamber into the front of its faceplate, and you can just hear this like as it just sort of breaks into right in the front of its head as it just falls to the ground. And well, what's the matter? If you do not worry, I will be there in a moment. As I run forward, basically leap and bound over Quildor's head, grabbing onto the top of the cave before I just sort of swing myself down and land on the far side of this beast, trying to look down into this hole as I see these other things clambering upwards towards me. As I pull my bar up into a defensive position, I am going to cast a little bit of magic as you can see the magic sort of starting to surge over my body, my hair starting to curl up on end and start to glow ever so slightly. And then you see, it seems like this ethereal form starts to form over my body, this large, strange pauldron with huge fluff of like almost mane-like hair appears on my shoulder as this armor reaches down my arm and down part of my side as this large belt appears on my belly as this sort of like almost wrapped up shirt just appears down this like torn up almost looks like a kilt of sorts, but it's just sort of open on the front as this sort of strange barbaric armor appears on my body as I'm going to cast some little shield of faith on myself.
Ooh. Magical armaments, I like it.
Give myself a nice healthy 23 AC. That's me.
All right, Persephone, you can see your bolt subside and immediately your allies take action. More of these creatures start to come up from the inside of this hill, and that sounds like the sound of scratching stone and claws. Seem to be clamoring from beneath you, but your allies seem to be funneling into the cave. What do you do?
Do I hear the one popping out of here?
You did sound like Swift Hollow was dealing with something, and she jumped over and sort of pulled herself over the cliffside above, and you can hear the sound of scratching from down there.
Okay, so I'm going to just reposition myself here and
Mhm.
call lightning on this spot down here.
Okay, give me that call lightning.
Yeah. Boom.
Whew. Let's see. As this thing trying to pull itself from inside of the sort of small cave opening. Yeah. Immediately. As this large bolt of lightning comes crashing down, and you see a little surge of smoke and crumbling rock come from this sort of destroyed area. As this thing takes a hearty beating.
Okay. If we can get them out of the caves, I could keep hitting them. Otherwise, you're pretty much on your own. As I'm going to maintain my position there.
Can just roast them.
Let's have my quick look at them.
Alrighty. As Luna, you can see her allies are now sort of forming a wall in front of you. Looks like you could just sort of see the rest of these creatures seem to be bundled inside of this now spilling cave leading down. A little, only about like maybe 60 is that right? About 50 or so feet into the rest of this hill with your amazing dark vision able to pick up on the detail. Seems like the rest of them are just these small clamoring infants full of sharp teeth and claws, trying to get their way closer to you guys. What do you do?
Tomorrow I'm gonna need you like move at least your head here, as I'm just gonna reach over Tomorrow's shoulder as this little flick of flame will just lazily float down to the cave as it wraps around all of them, and from below them it explodes in a burst of damage as I will cast fire.
Wait! Oh, in the cave! Jesus!
No,
No,
on
on top
top
of the
on
cave.
top of Persephone. Yep.
Okay. As throw me that fireball.
Oh no!
So Luna,
Oof.
let me check one thing. I think a couple of you would be good. Let me just do this real quick. Get you out the way. You guys should be good.
Maybe it's down in elevation.
I mean, I don't try to like get Tomorrow. I mean, I think it's down, so I don't think it would hit him, but I'm just
Sure.
not blow him.
You collapsed the
Let's
cave.
see.
I'm not an evasion point yet.
I mean, you would be.
Oh my god!
If you want to fucking
All right.
Poor
monster.
babies!
Roasted
As
lizard.
Luna,
Burned all
what's your
those
fireball
babies.
looking? Is it like is it just a raw flame? Is it white flame, black flame?
Like
Paint me a
deep
picture.
purple flame.
Deep
Like a deep
purple
purple flame that just kind of emanates from below them and just raises up and just explodes around them.
Yeah. As all of you for a moment see this small flicker fly above your shoulder, Tamarcon. As you're preparing for battle, you can see the small flame sort of settle like an ember, and then immediately, like a low roar, this purple flame comes reaching out from underneath the mountain. Persephone, even you and Swifthollow for a moment can feel the ground beneath your feet immediately become hot, and some cracks form in some of the loose earth, and bits of fire sort of spill up and out.
my God.
The rest of it sort of spilling out the opening where you just struck the lightning bolt. As immediately, one moment, great heat comes washing out over all of you, rushing over Quildor, Samantha, Tamarcon, and Luna, as fire just enraptures this entire cave, and all the creatures inside just seem to be roasted as black and purplish smoke sort of spill out from inside, like a small volcano releasing its smoke.
Yeah, I just sort of bask in the heat and then just sort of look over at Luna with like the face of someone who just got their favorite thing for their birthday.
Dead baby.
Well done.
Spin of my staff in front of me to knock away the smoke. Very impressive.
All right, so something
Are we
tells
still on
me.
initiative? Oh, okay. There's a dude still alive. No, he's dead.
Something tells me the music stopped, so I'm just going. Something tells
Oh
me
yeah,
that
seems like after all the baby lizards get exploded by the fireball. It seems like all of everything goes calm for a moment. Just a slow rising smokestack around this hilltop where Persephone and Swifthollow are currently positioned.
something tells me this is not going to necessarily work as our position anymore, covered in roasted lizards now.
We might want to do something about the lizards.
No. I mean, we'll just make the perfect drain. The
Could have
pearl
been.
descended from the heavens and crashed into these creatures and killed them all.
Exactly.
Looks good to me.
Great power. can be dangerous. What more of a curious thing that a dragon would want?
Oh, you know what? That's actually a pretty good idea. This is a red dragon we're dealing with. Just make it add in something about fires that fire that no one else can withstand, and etc. etc. There's going to be a bunch of burned lizards, and this red dragon is not harmed by flame, so it can come get the pearl when no one else could.
I might. Swift Hollow and I have been working on it, and we were going to try to appeal to Red Dragon's sense of greed and obsession with world domination. And essentially, whatever this pearl is, it's just supposed to be powerful. And the idea is Obsidious would want it because it would give him a lot of power. So having it fall from the sky and kill all of these lizards wouldn't be a bad idea.
As Persephone's looking at the hides of the infants.
But I did kind of want to replace my armor.
That wasn't.
Sorry, that's the great sentence right there you just said.
The hides of the
The
infants?
hide of the infants.
God.
Pick some good armor.
The corpse.
What'd you do last night? I bathed in the hide of the infants.
I've always wanted to skin a baby. I don't know. Is it just me?
As Persephone, you're gazing down at these creatures. Fortunately, it seems like they were sort of killed in less some destructive way. It seemed like Temercon's feet and apparently his quarterstaff made of iron has sort of battered them, only breaking away a few scales. But yeah, it looks like their hides are considerably tough, mostly just of a tough leather with some thick, sort of infantile scales still clinging to the hide. They could make some decent leather, or maybe some studded leather in the right hands.
I'm wearing scale mail. Is studded leather better or not?
It is not. Your dex,
Yeah.
I don't believe, is high enough.
No, I do not think.
These things' hides were not exactly that durable. Even with a half-handed strike, I was able to connect quite solidly with. I don't think it offered much protection.
If you're looking to make armor out of something, you can harvest parts from the dragon. That I'm sure is going to be quite
That's true.
tough. And Samantha just seems to sort of brush herself off, and as she sort of stretches her back, you can hear like a noticeable crack as she seems to just be adjusting to go sit down, as she took a lot of damage from that fucking crit.
Samantha, do you need some help? I can tend to your wound if you would like.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Persephone, do we need to arrange these carcasses in a specific way, or...
Persephone's like weighing the options.
So if it fell from the sky, it would need to make impact.
Persephone like backs up a little and has lightning strike the ground here to create a.
This sun and scorch mark just seems to appear and sort of crack into the earth, sort of breaking up some of the loose soil and singeing it black.
You're still sending down lightning bolts, Persephone.
Well, the dream that Swift Hollow and I had come up with was this idea that this hill could have been the corpse of a giant, and that the pearl could have been something emerging from the earth that has great power. I thought maybe if I struck the ground with lightning and incorporated that into the dream as if the lightning was pushing away the soil to get to essentially a giant's heart, then that would add to the lore of the story.
Okay, sure. Whatever.
Well, if
Hopefully
you have
works.
any other ideas, Samantha, we had a couple of days, but I know you don't like to sleep.
I don't think
What
my
does it,
dreams would be helpful. Mostly my upper shoulders.
Whatever. Hands still garbed in this like almost slightly glowing clothing as I walk up to you as I hold out a hand. You see like these weirdly long fingernails still, just a little bit too long for a normal person, as he just sort of slightly scratches on your shoulder, not enough to actually hurt or anything, but just sort of run his fingernail across your shoulder. as you can see that fingernail start to glow ever so slightly, and it almost feels like that line across your shoulder seems to soothe ever so slightly. It's just gonna cast a little bit of Cure Wounds on you. As he reaches around onto your other shoulder, places another.
Samantha pulls out her bottle of Rum Runner's Choice and takes a decent swig of it.
Feeling better?
Yes, and she hands you the bottle.
I don't mind if I do. But that is all for my magic today. As I take it, and as soon as I grab the bottle, the armor just explodes into hair off my shoulders, and just like leaves this pile of sort of dirty hair on the ground behind. As I take a swig.
But wait, you can still make the pearl glow, right?
Oh yes, this is mostly just a trick. Doesn't take any real concentration or power.
Oh, well, if it's just a trick, we don't really need to cast it right before the dragon comes. We just need to keep casting it and hope the dragon can see it.
Sure, I can do that.
Tamar, the bottle.
You take this. Oh,
Your
of
horse.
course. I
Reach up and take it
apologize.
back.
I'll smack over
And
to
like
it.
I do like a little flick of my hand, and a small green snake wraps up the top of it, cleaning it.
Swift Hall points at a large box on the back of the horse.
What was that,
Oh my
Luna?
God. Let's go back and do some one at a time talking, people. As
I
after
know,
it
I
seems
was
like
fucking
Samantha
with you,
catches
man.
it with magic, Swift Hollow is pointing to get Quildar to do something.
Just point to a big box and say, Kolor, can you help me with this?
But would you need it?
That is where the pal is. Just take it to the top.
Ah. Sounds good. So just grab the box and carry it to the top, unless it's something ridiculous like it's 9,000 pounds.
Real heavy,
No,
but not crazy.
Takes up
Yeah,
12
it seems like it's a
slots.
pretty hardy. It's basically like a chest, a small chest you're holding.
It's bigger than a barrel.
Put it in the
As you
scorched
carry
earth.
it.
Do we need to take it out of the box first, though?
Yes, but just put it down. I'll open it.
Fine. So I'll set it down.
You set it down, so Tala reaches her hand over. You see her put her hand on top of this thing, Quill. It looks like this box, pretty ornate in its appearance, made of like this really dark wood, and looks like what you'd recognize to be adamantine, actually. The top of it seems to be decorated by what looks to be this sort of a lotus sort of pattern made out of metal. And she puts her fingers on it and sort of rotates the petals one around another, sort of shifting them around in these little rotary motions. What's that? Not that? Is that not that one?
It is, but she tells Quildor to look away before she does it.
Okay. Don't.
She didn't. Peter didn't want me seeing it. I'm assuming he doesn't want anybody to
Okay.
know how to open the box. So I'm not
You're
gonna
being
Okay.
so considerate.
Right.
It seems like Swift Hollow sort of moves her hand over this thing. You hear the sounds of mechanical clicking with your sharpened ear, but don't really see what's going on until eventually the box sits down and then the box top opens up, and from inside, pulling it out, this large object. It looks like a pearl, but by God, the size of the clam that this thing would have to be would be amazing. It is about the size, bigger actually, than a human head. Large enough you would take 2 hands to hold it.
Yeah,
I do try to
that's a
watch.
giant's heart.
You do
That's
try
what
to
we're
watch.
calling it.
The giant's heart.
Give me an investigation check, Luna.
That is
As
a
you're picking up all
really
the smallest
big
details.
pearl.
It isn't a thing.
Wait, and you said
Okay.
you stole
Yeah.
this?
I procured it.
Luna, it looks like as you're trying to sort of watch over Swiftala using your sharp eye to pick up on the slight movements, her hand moves incredibly fast. It's almost like a soft blur. Almost looks like she just sort of waves her hand over this thing, and by the time her hand moves over this intricate-looking flower, the ornate design has already shifted and the box is already opening.
Let us say I bought it for a noble cause that I may not have known was the case at the time, with the full intent of returning it to his wife alone. Until I gave it to Swift Hollow. Then,
Do not try to bullshit a bullshitter, Tamar. It does not work.
I mean, it is a joke. Yes, I stole this thing. What do you want from me? Because we
To
already
not
went
get
over
caught,
this.
at least.
Not that I am aware of.
No, right there. It has to go.
Do you
Yeah, let
normally
God draw it
steal
first.
things?
No.
As you put down this very large, ornate-looking pearl sitting on the ground in the middle of this scorch mark, almost like a perfect little crater. As yeah, seems like it has rested quite well here. Sort of peering back and looking at the surroundings, you still see some rising smoke strings from the cracks in the earth where the fireball had sort of devastated the inner stonework and broke through the loose ground. You can see some of the smoke and fire still subsiding now, pouring out from the mouth of this cave, making this large like ring of soot coming from inside. Looks like, yeah, this thing got struck so hard that maybe the inside of this cave it just burst into flame.
But not
What
the
does that go though?
top. Interesting.
This would work. What's interesting about it? Do we not want the dragon to find it?
No, it's fine. I just hope it works.
Yeah, me too.
Never mind. It seems like Quidla
Probably
has
the
left.
most adventurous thing I've done in the dream world. So let's
You'll
hope.
make it work.
So
Alright.
are we gonna hide in the cave? I mean, it doesn't seem all that structurally sound.
I don't know if
Perhaps
that
we
will
should
really
hide
work.
in the lower one.
Yeah, what about that one over there?
There's Persephone's gonna point to the one that the first round of little lizards came out of.
I was thinking of hiding on the ridge line over there, as Samantha points off to that space.
Will they not see you from the air?
Yeah, isn't the dragon going to be coming from the south?
Yeah, we should be able to see its storm cloud or whatever it is that comes with it. And I can, as she looks around the group, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes, I guess I can't make all of us invisible. Unfortunate.
Does this cave look separate from the other two caves?
It looks like as you're peering inside this thing, Ludo, with your incredible dark vision, not quite as sharp as it used to be with your original Umbral Pearl, but still capable with this low lighting. It looks like this thing sort of, it's like a slope down coming from the edge of the hill. Looks like it actually goes uphill and then sort of careens into here. You'd think maybe it's like another exit for the remainder of the cave. As if it sort of traveled from here.
You know, speaking to my ring, it looks fine. I think we could use this entrance.
I'll swift along. I will return the horses to the others. Stay. I'm sure they will need you.
What will we do with the horses? Can they fit in this cave? Won't they be afraid?
I
Does
assume we
it-
just left them a
Does it
ways
look like
off.
straight? Does it look like the cave just goes straight down? Like it's not like a slope?
It looks like from here, Persephone, it goes in about 30 feet and then takes a dip and a turn where it looks like some of these creatures are coming from. And then from what Luna's been pointing out, it looks like this continues to turn and ramp down all the way down to this exit. But yeah, you do see Tamarkan look like he's just leading one of the horses to the far vicinities of this area.
Yeah, we have a camp off-site. That's sight
Okay.
unseen. In case this doesn't work on the first day.
Yeah, your wisdom would probably tell you if you did keep the horses here, unless you could keep them perfectly under control, possibly the presence of something big and terrifying might spook them.
Tamarkans runs off and gets the horses back to the camp for a little bit.
Yeah, if we keep the horses away, that would be better because we can be quiet, but horses are skittish.
Yes. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out how best to, Can I talk? I can talk as, whatchamacallit?
As a snake?
Yeah. How
Yeah.
stealthy do I think I'd be as a snake god? It's just like a little innocuous, not moving snake. That's also invisible.
Depends. You mean like in the eyes of maybe something like a dragon?
Yeah.
If you were a snake invisible, probably pretty hard to find. Snakes are pretty stealthy creatures that keep low to the ground. They slither around quite expertly. In terms of the eyes of a dragon, hard to say. Dragons are known to have sharp senses, but I guess if there's anything else to glean, I don't know. What does a dragon care about a snake?
Yeah, and all of my my objects and stuff are invisible too,
What are you
right?
thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I was considering just basically wrapping myself around the damn thing and just sitting and waiting once it was getting close. Swift Hollow still need to, well, exist and step around with her feet and all of that. So I was thinking if I was a... what is somewhere realistic? Maybe somewhere over here or something. I could just coil myself up with the, with that pearl and just wait. And simply call upon the magic as it's coming into land. And then, as it leaves, that's it.
With our experimenting, did we figure out the limitations of the seeing eye? Or
In terms of
Figure out-
like what it can pick up?
like, can it
Yeah,
see in the
like-
dark?
Yeah, can it see in the dark? Can it see invisible things also?
Sure. If you were experimenting it with like the couple days you had traveling, yeah, it seems like whatever is within that 60 foot that could be perceived, basically it picks up on. It even picks up on things like magical effects. Yeah, even like magical phenomena that is visible, it can be picked up on. Anything that could be perceived. Even in the dark. Although, depending on how dark it is, there may be some dimness to the image. But it still picks up on the image. It's almost like it has dark vision in a way.
What's the
Samantha
definition of
Invisible.
full cover then?
It should still be able to see because you're going to put light on the thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, because it goes around full cover. So, like, is this hole enough for it to go up and around for?
Well, again, it's basically like it extends outward. So, like, wherever this thing reaches out, if it reaches straight up and there's nothing blocking it, it sees straight up. If it's, like, over here and, like, you're standing over here, yeah, this thing's probably not going to get you if it's right at the mouth of the cave because it's going to hit this roof. It's like a giant eyeball looking in all directions.
Okay. So
It is a
like
camera that you're just looking from its perspective. It's not this weird, like,
It
3D
goes
not a
around
fire
object.
able to move around it.
Yeah.
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 It's like a projector, almost, I guess.
It's like literally like the fucking Google Street View thingies. All right.
And we like had Samantha turn invisible and use to see if it can see her. Could it see her?
Yes. That was the thing I did try.
Sure, if you're testing invisibility, you do see maybe the slightest shimmer in the air, but it seems like it actually doesn't capture you.
Okay.
It just
And it
captures the
doesn't
magic.
It can pick up on visual magical phenomena. If you cast the thing, magic begins to spill from your hands, a fireball. Even if it's, using magic to sense magic, it actually will still pick up the energy. Even almost makes it sometimes brighter.
Gotcha.
But not so much on invisibility. Does it break her invisibility?
Not so much. Seems like if you had to use your big arcana brain on this, it's possibly that this thing is using divination magic just to perceive and record. And invisibility, while it could possibly be sensed by direct detecting magic, it doesn't quite interact well in this sort of visual aspect. If this thing could sense magic, if this thing could truly pick up and like discern, be like, hey, this thing's transmutation magic, this thing's illusion magic, you could probably pick up on it. But this thing's just a visual and audio sort of based recording.
Yeah.
If
And
it's not visually picked up by something. Yeah.
I already clarified that it's not considered casting a spell or anything, so it doesn't break invisibility.
Okay. All of my out of character questions.
If we could maybe get like some branches or something, just to form some foliage or something nearby that I could sit underneath.
Are there any shrubberies or anything like that around these
Oh,
areas?
there's loose shrubberies. There's bushes and some. Looks like some dying trees. It looks like maybe the approaching winter rather, has taken away a lot of their life. But there is some still like thick green shrubs that hold a lot of their liquid. Sort of rips them apart, get some branches.
Persephone, can you?
Make a nest. Sure.
Yeah, Persephone, can you replant them for me to make them sort of look like they just sort of grew from here? Don't just cut them up, Quill. Don't cut them up. As she calls from the side of the mountain.
Where are you putting them?
Over here, as she sort of just gestures towards like this like 4-square block.
So we are going to convince a dragon that this pearl burns things beyond all power, and we will have a green bush within a few feet of it.
Oh no, I was going to have Persephone burn it.
Oh,
Burn the bush. Oh, you want to plant the bush and then burn the bush.
And then I'll hide amongst the remains, exactly.
Clever woman.
I try to be. And in worst case, as it's descending on its approach, I can mentally prepare myself to call upon that cloak you gave me if I notice that it's sensed me or something of that nature, and quickly disappear with it. Though that will break my invisibility.
Jesus Christ!
Running. Going and gathering some supplies, using a sword to carefully sort of carve them from the earth without just ripping them apart. Seems like they're trying to replant them. So yeah, easily enough with your great strength and going one by one. Maybe take about like 10 minutes or so. You gather a decent amount of these plant life and some shrubs and stuff. Just some general green life, whatever remains around here.
You don't think the giant heart thing's a little bit of a stretch, right? Where we were going for like artifact of ancient times kind of idea?
I mean,
Honestly,
there aren't any
Persephone,
giants left, are there?
I know a lot of things. But oddly enough, weird myths like that are not something I really concerned myself with. So I don't really know if it's a stretch or not.
Why would you not concern yourself with stories of ancient art? I don't understand you. Okay.
So Persephone's gonna take the. Did you take whole bushes or did you take clippings?
I took.
Whole
I went
bushes.
down to like the. We're taking whole bushes.
Yeah, I needed the whole bush. That's why I said don't cut it up. Gotta,
Oh,
like,
okay. Then I
dig it
just
up
ripped
and
the whole bush out.
yeah. And then Persephone's just gotta replant the roots into the ground using your weird druid powers, and then burn it.
Mold earth, replant the bush.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about this.
Says I'm going to produce flame and catch it on fire.
Alrighty. As with a small spark of fire.
That was quick and fast and spoopy.
Do you cast Speak with Plants first?
No.
It's like, Mommy?
Jesus Christ, no. Persephone can't have any more children. Please stop.
Persephone has
Like a
children.
fire has started on this
All
bush.
the gloom roots.
You're not the mother of the gloom roots. That's
I might have
okay. Persephone, I feel like you're projecting. And don't let
As
it
the
burn
sun
all
moves
the
in the
way.
sky.
So what? Who sees this guy?
Sun.
The sun.
time.
Okay. We should probably get into position
See
and...
the fire, we starting now? What's happening?
It put
No,
it
we're
out.
creating cover for Samantha.
Oh, would I?
As I'll use press
That's a-
meditation to put the fire out.
After doing all that, so Luna is going to take out her little book that she rarely ever uses, and she's going to write into it. Is this going to fuck us
Hey.
all up?
Let's see. As
Is
Luna
this
pulls
fucking
out her
stupid?
small and ominous little treasure
Are we
she
going
picked
to
up from.
die?
She can't really remember who you got it from, but you know it was someone you trusted. Roll me a d20. Ooh, as you open up the book, you scribble inside, and yeah, close it up. After about an hour or so, while they're sort of getting their stuff together, planning, open it up. Writing's gone, but no answer.
All right, keep your secrets.
You piece of shit. Okay, close the book.
Swift
Seems like
Hollow.
the fire has been put out.
Look at this big
We
old
have
lizard. Knowing certain creatures that have a penchant for certain things. Maybe not
Mhm.
poison itself, but maybe some nasty bile or something she might be able to use. You think she can find anything of use on these little guys? Or
Sure.
this big guy,
Give-
rather, not the little guy.
Give me a straight up. I'm gonna say, do you have? Does she actually? I don't think she has that. Let me double check this real quick. Rip open your character sheet.
She's got
Okay,
a
there it
poisoner's
is. Cool.
kit.
Give me a survival check as you're just trying to salvage this creature's body for whatever you might be able to find useful. Okay. Yeah. It seems like there's nothing really inside the stomach. You carve it open, you can see a number of small bones. They kind of strange looking. Some of them are almost reptilian in shape, some of them are almost humanoid, some sort of like in between. But as you're going through, you do find sort of pooled at the bottom of the stomach, almost like a perfect lining for it, is about like maybe like a pint of this really potent acid. That if you think maybe you pour it off into a vial, I might be able to get like about 4 vials worth of acid from this thing.
Does she have any vials on her?
You
I
got
would
a lot of
imagine a
vials in your
poisoner
poisonous kit. I'm
kit.
just assuming you've got a ton of them. For the sake of why
Does
not?
she have a poisoner's kit?
Bridget.
She does. Okay, good. Alright, so
I
yeah,
mean,
she
I
will
would hope so.
she will totally fill up 4 vials of acid.
Nice.
Yeah, Swift Hollow has a nebulous amount of vials.
I got
I
you,
mean-
Peter.
I mean, her character is supposed to have a poisoner's kit. Does the character sheet say that there's a poisoner's kit? Probably
there.
not.
It took me a little bit.
Fortunately, it does.
It's the second item on there, but I was
Okay.
trying to figure out
Yeah.
where he'd put it.
But yeah,
Smart.
seems like you have plenty of small collection of vials, so you can put this potent acid in, pour it into, and yeah, fortunately it doesn't eat through the glass. Seems like you got some pretty good base for maybe some very deadly tonics in the future.
Tamar, how close do you need to be to the pearl to make it glow?
Right up next to it, my dear. I have to touch it.
Oh.
As I said, it is more of a trick than anything too powerful.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it lasts for an hour, though. Surely, when we see the clouds, he turns on the light and then we go and hide.
And it takes nothing more than 5 seconds or so, and I will be gone in a flash.
Then that's all we need.
There we have it.
Alright. So we're gonna hide along that ridge, Samantha? Or did we determine that was a bad idea and we should probably hide
No,
in
we
the
need to
cave?
hide underground.
Yeah,
In
the
the cave.
cave.
Isn't it? Close enough that if anything goes wrong, we are here to help each other.
Yeah, Samantha would take some time to sort of peer into the cave and get a proper understanding of like the space underneath the earth for a frame of reference for Dimension Door.
Sure. It looks like by the entrance, if you're just walking inside where Luna and Swift Hollow are sort of investigating, it's at the base of this hill when you first entered it, so maybe about like 30 or so feet below the surface. But then like rising up around, you have this sort of like 20-foot rise in elevation, and then another about 10 feet or so coming up to about here, which leads back to the mouth, which then sort of cycles back down here, leads down to this area with a small like outcropping down towards the southern side of this hill. It's enough to maybe for some small flat bodies to get through, but fortunately these lizards seem to be just tall enough to where you guys can sort of duck your heads down. Persephone, you're absolutely fine in this situation, to get and fit underneath this hill.
Oh, so it's connected to this one.
Yes. And yeah, as some of you start to look inside, you can see the burnt remains of what looks like a bunch of sort of like it smells like sulfur, but also smells kind of like savory as you see a number of these leathery sacks now dried with these sort of like bubbling, proteinous, yolky looking mounds. Yeah, it looks like that fireball probably roasted a few eggs.
Mm.
The whole fucking nest, Luna.
It's
Well,
extra
they-
XP. Put a little
They
salt on
literally
'em.
attacked anyone that came near them.
Oh, that wasn't Persephone. That was me.
No, you're fine.
So we have the beds, we have the hiding spots, we have ability to make the dragon see what it is looking for. We have Samantha with the orb to see the thing. We have the way to draw it in with the dream. How do we know when it is coming? Are we just watching the sky and hope it will take the bait immediately?
Yeah, but if it's a dream and it's dark and it leaves as soon as it wakes up, assuming it wakes up in the middle of the night, we might not be able to see it.
People have seen its clouds, though. We know it travels in the daytime as well.
For a dream to work well, the dragon needs to be sleeping. Do we know if it's nocturnal?
Swiftcaller, was it sleeping when you were there? Was it the daytime or was it evening?
It was during the day, but we did not see it sleeping. We saw it leave its lair. We do not know if it was sleeping before then or not.
So then we wait for the night, and you do your dream thing, Persephone, correct?
Yeah.
And then it will fly out in the morning with all things that goes according to our plan.
Yeah, and we can set up watches in hopes that maybe we'll see it coming or hear it, or maybe it will rain. Maybe. The only thing I can really do is maybe conjure forth some animals, but that only lasts an hour. I can have them scout for 30 minutes out in distance and then come back, but I'm not sure how far they'll be able to make in that time.
Just do the dream sometime shortly before dawn. Rest now and wake up early enough and cast it, so that way it'll be the last thing it should see if it wakes up when everyone else wakes up.
Okay, so then I'll be on last watch to do
There you
exactly
go.
that.
I suppose I'm taking last watch as well.
And I don't need to sleep, so it's not like I'm going to miss it.
Very well. Is there anything that we are missing, or anything we want to do to spice this up a little bit? Akit.
No, I think we're okay. I think this is it.
And if worse comes to worse, and the dragon decides to eat us, do we fight or
I do not believe we're going to outrun the dragon.
wonderful? The fighting it is then. See if we can scare the creature back to his lair.
Oh, hopefully it doesn't come to that.
Very much so. Now, just in terms of
Persephone.
Yeah.
just in terms of a mechanical discussion, God, I was inquiring about the whole like maybe I can use my cool snake thing that I never really use for anything to hopefully try to avoid actually having to roll a stealth check because I don't wanna do that. No, please, thank you.
If you're trying to hide from a thing, you're probably gonna have to make sure you're well hidden.
Well, it's been fun. I look forward to my next character.
Just be a small, unassuming snake and just exist.
That's what I was trying to do.
Snake.
Yeah, you can still be. Was he gonna be like, "Oh my God, there's a little snake over there. I must fire breath it."
I mean, maybe he's petty. He might be petty.
Could be petty.
He's a dragon. If anything's gonna be petty.
Okay, so it seems like the
Samantha,
party...
you are alright, just being up here by yourself. It will be. The thing is rather large. Are you sure you won't accidentally get swiped by a tail? You're rather close.
I'll be pretty low to the ground.
Anyway, I
Samantha's
would love
just
to
gonna-
take your place, but you know, well, I do
Would
not
you-
have your wiles of turning invisible.
Would you really like to take my place?
Of course. I've always wanted to have a closer look at a thing. I like to watch some creatures from time to time, things that I've not seen before. It is very interesting. There's a lot you can learn from simply watching.
When I turn myself invisible, I can turn you invisible as well, but I do not know of any place for you to hide.
Well, there's a cave right below it. I can simply poke my head out, get a good look. I do not have to be up here. I can simply be down by this, the cave.
Well, I'll turn you invisible when you come to make the pearl glow then.
Wonderful!
Okay. So with that, it seems like the Valiant Vanguard have their plan, and it seems like they're going to be camping out for the night here. You guys trying to do some watches, splitting yourselves up? What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
Seems like I'm taking last watch with Persephone.
Sure. Alrighty, so last watch with Persephone, Quildor, and Samantha. The rest of you guys just sleeping through the night, finding a comfy place in the cave. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part.
I'll just sleep through the night. They'll be fine. I believe in them.
Sure.
Looking at this cave, actually. If the dragon gets curious, he could see you. Hello, I see you down there. Do you want to close off this entrance?
Which one?
So if it goes poking around, this is all connected down here. Where you are hiding, it is connected to, well, up above. If the dragon gets curious and wants to wander down into the cave, I might be able to hide myself, especially if I'm invisible, but if it simply pokes its head around the corner, it may see you all. Do you want to try to close off the cave entrance? Just stay right here or so, as I'm down below in the cave.
Yeah, it seems like it ramps down closer to the ground.
Do you
I mean, we
know of a
certainly
way
could.
to close it without
Yeah.
collapsing the entire thing?
Yeah. Do we? I don't think I have magic for that right now.
Oh. Never mind. I mean, we could simply collapse it, but then it would look like a collapse. Just a thought. It may not cut to anything.
Alrighty. So Tala, I'm assuming you're also just trancing. Okay. Well, with that, seems like you guys set up a little sort of a makeshift camp, not really trying to make yourselves noticeable in the night, sort of using maybe like the natural cover of this place as both a shelter and sort of this bastion of sorts where you can sort of think out your plan and sort of go over in your head exactly what you're doing, reminding yourselves you're going to be calling this dragon, hopefully, while it's sleeping with your dream magic, beckon it over with a fantastical story. And hopefully, in the due day, this thing might come along, fly down, snatch this pearl, and in the meantime, hopefully, Samantha, in her unassuming form, might be able to activate the magic and capture basically some proof that you would need to acquire a weapon to slay this thing. As yeah, nothing seems to come at you in this night. It seems like the foothills, without these beasts residing here, are now sort of a safe bastion. Hours pass, you guys find some time to rest, lick your wounds, regain your stamina, and eventually you become down to that fourth watch. Is there anything else you want to do on the watch, or are you just going to be waiting out the night?
I'll definitely take a short rest before then. But yeah.
Sure. Get like a quick breather in before you're really buckling down for the night.
Yeah, just so I can get myself up to full before the dragon shows up.
Sure.
Hope.
All right. Yeah. Anything you guys want to do as the
How do you turn this
approaching
thing
dawn?
on? How do you activate it?
The
What?
what?
I don't need to say a magic word or anything, do I?
What? The orb?
Yes.
Yeah, I can just say a magic word to it, yes.
Wonderful.
as a little tiny snake.
Yeah, it's really cool. I can't talk like that when I'm in animal form, but she can.
So you're the one doing the stealthy? Alright. Never mind then.
Yeah,
Yes,
you're the
Samantha's
one.
the
You're
one.
going up to make the orb glow.
You gotta bring the light. Samantha brings the camera.
Yeah,
And Persephone
I
brings the
offered to
action.
I offered
That's
to be the
true.
cameraman so Samantha didn't have to. That's what I thought we were.
No, it's alright. If I get seen, I die, and then you get to be happy.
Hey.
Okay. As there's nothing else you guys want to do, eventually the night comes to an end. The dawn begins to reach out. You can see the sun rising just over the mountaintops. You can see golden light spilling past the peaks, even sort of making the clouds above where those peaks reach glow ever so gently. As
Okay.
Persephone. Showtime.
Persephone takes her crystal and starts etching into the ground. Little fey runes starting to glow and float up around her as she goes into a meditative trance and casts Dream, trying to enter dream space of
Obsidious the dragon.
Okay.
Is this after long rest?
Yes.
Nice.
As you see Persephone set up her, as Semi starts getting around for the day, sort of preparing yourselves for this very important day of yours. You see Persephone set up her little ritual of sorts, setting up her crystals, etchings, and eventually sort of enter this trance-like state. And time sort of passes. As Persephone, you're holding on to your magic. Your magic still continues. It's not lost, but you're reaching out using all what you've collected in your mind, everything you've researched, everything Samantha and Tamar Khan and Luna and everyone in the group has sort of compiled about this dragon, sort of outlining the image, the entity, the identity of this beast. You simply are sort of waiting almost. It's almost like you're trying to make this connection and it's just like just barely out of reach, like it's a barrier. And you're reaching and continuing. An hour passes. You guys are just watching Persephone sort of mimic in a way, I guess, like what Quill and Swift Hollow do in her trance moment, as it seems like the time is just going on. The magic is not reaching out to anything. And then after about an hour and a half, Persephone, in this sort of swimming darkness where your mind is sort of reaching out towards this image of a creature, something begins to form, ever so gently, as if lulling itself into existence. You see a soft red glow off in the distance, and it approaches you as you sort of pull yourself closer to it, bit by bit. This warmth sort of washing over you. It's gentle. It's like a campfire. And then it begins to expand, these tendrils of red spilling across the entire blackness and sort of filling the air, the space, with what can only be imagined, what one could only dream to be the dream of a great dragon. As you find yourself standing across scorched earth, large pillars of earth broken by heat and war. You can see around you these shapeless forms with clattering metal and red scales upon their body, brushing past you up towards the walls of a place you've never seen before. A large walled city with great spires. It looks like maybe you're on top of some mountain, and everything, the walls themselves are crumbling. It looks like the parapets behind them hold these charred skeletons now looming over and falling from these heights. And it looks like, sort of resting atop this great pyre that looks like it was once a formidable city, is instead this massive beast, 20 feet in tall, wings spread widely, body covered in glittering black shards of glass, but beneath which you can make out to see this bright and iridescent red. Between the cracks of this glass and the scale, you see these bright orange veins running along its form that seem to glow and fade in these sort of waves and ribbons, like when you've seen embers and coals burn in the hearth. As this thing almost looks like he's not standing proudly, he's resting of sorts. His tummy sort of brushed against the top of this wall, and you can see his wings just gently fanning the flames around him, as if he's just sort of basking in everything. His eyes sort of peering down at what looks like now forming around you, like almost like the end of a war. like a battle that was won, but this is no heroic victory. This is a dragon's victory. These creatures, most of them covered in red scales, running through the city. You can see some of them catching on to what looks like humans and elves, and either locking them in chains or sticking these long glass shards through their back, through their armor, and pulling them out with a spray of blood. As this thing's eyes begin to just peer down to the world around you, and immediately, just instinct, you're no longer there. You're still in the area, still in this thing's dream, but as you defended yourself before, well practiced, made yourself unseen. As this thing looks down at the world around it with now a curled maw of sharpened teeth glistening with what looks to be freshly spilled blood, a long black tongue rolling across them.
Now that was a battle.
Persephone's gonna let him bask in his dream for just a moment longer, as she's going to create a strong gust of wind to billow past Obsidius, but moving behind him. She wants him to look back.
Okay, this wind sort of blows. You can see all the clouds of smoke rising from this seed city immediately get pulled with it, as suddenly his wings catch the wind and his head sort of twists and turns. Instead of trying to look past where this wind is coming from and then turning behind him to the rest of the city.
What now?
He's gonna try to create behind him, just whatever was there is gone. It's just an empty void of darkness that the wind is blowing towards.
As, the wind blows, and you see the buildings sort of scattering and falling away, some of them pulling back into the earth or just fading away into the blowing smoke. As it seems like he sort of stations himself now on this tall building, just trying to see what exactly is opening up behind him. You can see it turns around, this long, jagged tail covered in these long red spikes sort of whips out in the air, and as he does, a wave of heat actually washes from him and even sort of hits your sort of incorporeal form. As even from this great height above you, you can sort of feel this heat radiating from him.
And with his attention there, the winds are going to continue to billow towards it, almost like she's trying to give him the sense that he should go towards this void, that there's something there. And she's erasing, as he looks at the void, she's erasing the scenery around him and trying to create, off in the distance, a hill of sorts, a landscape.
Another hill to burn. Fine. Easy conquest.
As these wings spread out wide and sort of catching on invisible air that doesn't exist in this void, this creature pulls itself off the building. You see chunks of it fall and crash down in front of you. Some of it in the space where you should be standing, but you find yourself safe away from it, as after all, this is a dream. And as he pulls himself away, you can't help but feel this sort of whiplash feeling as you are taken with him, sort of rushing towards this hill as, you're going to start working fast. This thing's moving towards this hill that you're still constructing.
What she's... In the distance, he can see a giant silhouette, a giant humanoid figure as it's moving towards a mountain. It's Mount Kot. You're facing towards it. And this giant creature collapses into the earth as if it was wounded and it's dying. And Persephone, as fast as she can, she's trying to create a time lapse of the earth growing over this corpse, forming the landscape that is now this spiraling hill that her and her friends were once upon. And then the clouds above start to swirl as lightning strikes into the center. Everything is still for just a moment. And then an explosion. Fire beaming out of the cave, smoke rising from the earth. And where the lightning struck, a small orb peeks out from the soil, and it begins to glow. The winds pick up again, blowing towards this seed. And as they whoosh past, she's going to let a voice go through, a single word on the breeze. Power.
Power.
And she watches to see what he does.
Power. Easy taking. And
The wings pull back through the air, and immediately he rushes down, claws just extended towards this hill, as it almost looks like he tries to crash into it.
And as he gets closer, Persephone is going to rip him away from the sea and back into the void.
As give me a wisdom saving throw.
This is my inspiration in action.
Alrighty. Ooh, as Persephone, you feel sort of the first time you've been wondering since you've been hearing about dragons why it is magic such as a hard time reaching them, affecting them. And the moment you've been moving entire worlds, Persephone, able to shift this burning siege city into a hilltop, able to make a story. And the moment you try to pull him back, you feel this almost alien resistance in the dream as this thing is pulling and tearing. You can see actually streams of this reality you're sort of fabricating actually being strained against him, but you are barely able to keep him and yank him back as he just gets pulled back, his wings flapping
in this air with voice. Ah! Ah! Give it to me! I have earned it! It is mine!
Persephone is going to turn everything dark again. And she's going to leave him there. She disappears from the dream.
Ooh. As immediately everything goes black, you can just hear as you're pulling away from the stream, everything fading away, this roaring.
It's mine! It's mine! What is this? What is...
And finally, you come to.
Are you just gonna blue balls the dragon over and over again until he comes?
We might have to do it over and over again.
Purse, where is he supposed to go?
She created the scene of where we were facing Mount Cot, so it's like...
If you were standing on top of Mount Top and could see so far, you would see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. That was the idea.
All right, as finally Persephone, after about like an hour, maybe just 30 minutes or so, seems like, yeah, she's been doing this dream thing for a while. Immediately, you come to.
Oh! She worked! What? The poor girl has lost her mind!
Laughing!
Persephone, are you alright?
Oh my god! Oh my god! I think I did it. I think it's gonna work. He sounded like he really wanted to go after it.
Right, what happened? What happened when he got... What did you do?
I lured him to it. And right
What?
when he was about to reach what he wanted most, I didn't let him have it. And he didn't
Oh.
sound too happy about that.
So do we think he is on his way?
I think he's going to want to find it. And he knows exactly where it is. You can see it from the mountains.
I suppose I should give him a beacon then. Are you ready, Samantha?
You see, like, Samantha just coiled up with this orb just sort of wrapped up, coiled between multiple layers of snake. And she just sort of lazily looks up from the ground. I do not think he is on the way yet. My magic can only last for an hour.
Oh yes. Just wondering if everything... Well, do you have any more...
I wish I had something to read.
Well, let's start this as I walk over and fingernail starts to glow as he just sort of taps the top of the pearl as a soft glow just sort of slowly wraps around it until it covers the globe. And let's see if he makes it here within an hour. Simply do it again. Drops down and sort of swings himself into the cave down below.
Persephone's gonna peer out from the cave that she's in and just stare at the clouds swirling around the mountaintop. She's hoping if the rumors are true, she wants to see if the clouds darken.
Oh
And
yeah.
she's kind of bouncing in place.
From how far down you are against the mountain, you can just sort of see the tips going up into the clouds. And yeah, about like 30 minutes or so past, you're sort of coming down from this strange sensation. You didn't just talk about a dragon. You didn't send a magical message to one. You basically were there in front of one and had to pull it away and just barely seemed to do so. But after a while, there is something that does occur. Maybe about like just 10 minutes into this, you can see this soft rumbling, this sensation. You see rocks ever so across the rising hillside of the mountain, just sort of spill and fall for a moment. You know, so it just seems like rocks are kind of falling as the earth is always in motion, always shifting. And then from there, more rocks begin to sort of spill and fall. And then there's just this, to you, to Luna, and to Swift Hollow, this just, and I guess to you, Temarcon, considering where you are, this just sudden, gentle little tremor. It's like a little pulse. Almost feels like a slightest earthquake. And then, after about 30 minutes or so in the sky, you can just see it looks like a slight darkening. Almost like a shadow moving across the rolling basically mantle of clouds above in the sky now. It seems like your conjured storm early the next day has sort of changed the weather ever slightly, just shifted it. And now you could see this mass shadow moving across the sky. And as it moves, you can almost see some, maybe like after 10 minutes or so, moving higher, like a small black dot in the sky. It looks like where it moves, the clouds go from silver to like this dark, stormy black. And then it fades as this, almost like a shadow, moves further and further towards this location.
I think that's him. I think that's him.
I think it's time to light it, Temarcon. Samantha, are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be. If I die, I leave everything to Luna.
Of course.
As Samantha quickly transforms back into herself, sliding out of the bush, leaving the pearl or the orb of witness in place, sort of bringing herself back up to her full stature. She just spins her scepter in her hand, causing herself to become invisible, using the 2nd level invisibility for an hour. Are you just inside the cave, Temarcon, or did you need me to make you invisible too?
Yeah, I was gonna pop up when I heard you crawling out of your bush. I pop up as well, waiting for your magic.
Give you a high five to also push the magic into you as well, and turn myself invisible and just fall back down into the form of a snake and wrap myself up around the orb of witness, just sticking my head right on top and waiting for whatever happens to happen.
Okay, Persephone with Quill around him. I can cast magic to help us be a little quieter. Luna, Swift Hollow, do you want it? Or are you going to just stay back in the cave?
I mean, I'll take it, but I'm still gonna stay here. Right? Anything will.
Persephone, you should stay in the cave as well.
Temarcon, having a second thought for 2 seconds, does not go to reapply the magic. Still got a half an hour, and he forgot him casting the spell again would get rid of the invisibility. So still got plenty of time left on it.
Persephone's gonna get close with Swift Hollow, Quinor, and Luna, and she's gonna cast Pass Without Trace on him.
Because I can hold that for an hour.
Holding his head up.
You could just cast that on everyone.
Watch this.
Can I? Okay, then you all get it. I couldn't see if there was like a
It's every creature within 30 feet of you that you choose.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Are
so
you
if
within
have
30 feet of me?
If you have Pass Without Trace, you could just bring the group up and everyone fucking get past and then go back inside.
Well then, yes, everybody huddle around and we can be
You give
super
everyone a
sneaky.
wash of special fey magic, pulling shadows across their body and sort of softening their movements.
That really helps make sure I don't literally just get eaten. Thanks.
There we go. You're welcome.
As after this magic is cast, you have to position yourselves. You can, I guess Cooldar probably one of the first ones to see it, sort of keeping his position down near the bottom of the cave. You can see like sort of a soft change of color as looks like rain is starting to gently spill across the ground. It looks like it's like a storm cloud is just pulling itself over, but it's almost washing itself for a moment sort of covering the entire hill until everywhere, just raindrops falling everywhere, clattering against the ground, making small puddles for a moment. And then, for those on the surface, the clouds above beginning to break. You hear the soft thunder, boom, 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 and then a soft break in that dark cloud as the shape pulls itself through and descends. And you can see as it does so, the cloud doesn't just part. It doesn't just like move away through wind. It almost like just evaporates and spreads into nothingness as this large black and red shape comes descending down the mountain. As you all, I guess those who are on the surface you can see, bear witness to this large black and red scaled beast lumbering down and eventually just landing harshly, claws scattering across the ground. All of you in the cave feel it shake and quake beneath you as this massive shape lands on the ground. As these eyes sort of peer around and then eventually fall down on this small, still somewhat glittering object on the ground.
Witness.
As when you do, boom, you sort of see the soft pulse, not visible, but sort of feel it as you do, a sort of ripple in the air as this energy just sort of extends out towards the surrounding area.
I didn't really want to interrupt your cool intro, but I totally would do it when he's flying in. So you gotta get the whole 10 minutes. You gotta get the cool approach on the film too.
Sure. This thing lands on the ground with a great crash as he pulls himself forward, looking down at this strange-looking pearl of considerable size. I see. As his claw reaches down, long claws, about maybe like 3 feet each in length, almost like long nails, gently taking it between them, almost piercing into the material, incredibly hard that pearl material is, and holding it, just marveling at the size.
This will do ever so nicely. We're almost done, aren't we? It's almost complete.
As I'm gonna need everyone on the surface to give me some stealth checks.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's passed without trace.
Ooh, a cool 36.
A 20 is plus 10.
On the
right?
surface.
Plus 10 on the surface.
Oh, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm outside this little cave, holding myself up, basically, watching over the edge. Cause I'm watching this motherfucker.
Going to use the Nito Bandito inspiration that I have and get some advantage. And I get to use the snake stealth, which is plus6 as opposed to my terrible plus3.
Ooh.
I'll type in the plus 10, roll with advantage. 30.
Ooh, there you go.
Ooh, we're looking for a 37.
Keeping yourself firmly wrapped around this thing, making yourself as innocuous as possible. This creature's eyes immediately look up, and you can hear this deep inhale. As it seems to almost take a deep breath. As it does, you can see the air around it begin to waver ever so gently, heat just pouring from its form as each step it takes. Circling around this object, still holding it in his hand.
Now where did you come from? And why were you in my dream? I must wonder.
As he turns, stopping for a moment, his head sort of tilting to the side, and you all can see from considerable distance this large eye peering over the area. It just seems to scan across all of you.
And I could have sworn I smelled life.
And he turns around again, still peering around, eyes just gazing. And as he does, pulls close to you. You can see the actual ground he's stepping on. Every footstep he takes on the earth lifts it off the ground. And where there was once maybe now drying green life, there was just a scorch mark. Everywhere he walks, the air wavers. And even as he brushes his long tail across the ground, you can see small fires lighting as he steps around the bin close to this entrance. Eyes falling down, which you can sort of see Samantha over the hill. Looks like he's looking down at these large mounds beneath the height.
Lowly things, out of my way.
As claws throw these things in one fell swoop off the mountain, step by step. As they fall, you can see where the claws rip into them. There's like these scorch marks as the wounds are immediately cauterized. If they weren't dead, they'd be quite painful. Another one down the mountain. Another one down here. As everyone in the hill, give me a stealth check.
Use my DM inspiration on this one.
Are you trying too?
15.
All right.
Oh yeah, because you have disadvantage.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We stripped Quildor naked before this, obviously.
Cast off all of his armor.
15,
As
29, 33. Oh, I need a swift hollow.
Yeah, Swift Hollow.
I'm
Let's
sure
see
it
what
should
Swift
be
Hollow
fine. 32.
All right. As this creature begins to pull itself down, knocking these creatures away in its stride, it sort of stops for a moment.
What is that? Where are you?
As heavy steps begin to step forward. As you guys can hear above you, through the weakened ground, these heavy steps. And as the weight begins to crack the ground, Kuldor, Switala, Luna, and Persephone, give me a Constitution saving throw.
Ooh.
Oh, thank God. Fuck.
Swift Hollow's gonna use her DM inspiration. Fuck you, Peter. I'm eating
Everybody,
it.
use the inspo.
Didn't help the 19 up there.
All right. As you guys feel this thing's weight sort of pressing down, you can see some of the cracks above and the earth sort of giving ever so slightly. Immediately as they break, you feel this wash of air, but it's not cool. It is searing hot, and immediately it hits you, fills your lungs. It feels like you're standing not next to, but in a fire. Just this pure heat overtaking you, and it seems like... double check something. Boop, 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 boop. Nice. Kuldar, you are just barely able to keep yourself together. This heat washing over you, even through your armor. It makes you grow heavy and weary, but you're able to keep yourself calm and still. As it almost seems like this heat almost took the strength out of you. As this thing sort of poises itself here and seems to stand still. What do you guys do?
Tomar kind of picks up a small stone.
Uh-huh.
I don't see any creatures out there, like anything alive and moving.
You just feel, with all of your high passive perception and just probably your awareness of the situation, that possibly the ground above you is being heavily challenged by a great weight, and the cracks are forming in the ceiling above you as heat is spilling. You can hear that deep voice just growling. As Tamarcon, are you doing something?
Just picking up a stone, watching the dragon's movement.
Okay. Are you guys doing something, or are you just waiting?
Paul's just fucking hunkered up in a corner, being as quiet as possible, just eyes closed, just fucking in her happy place.
Persephone is going to wave her hand and try to mold earth at the furthest distance. She's going to try to get something falling off one of these edges. Just create a
Like this-
disturbance.
Breaking one of the stones?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
gonna look away from here.
Holding your hand out. Give me another stealth check as you're trying to carefully whisper. Or actually, you don't have to whisper anything. You just do a
It's
hand
somatic,
motion.
yeah. It's just like, it's just wiggle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just holding your hand out and then just gently feeling it connect with the earth and just... As the earth breaks and spills, and immediately this thing, you hear this sudden whooshing sound as wings sort of pull And immediately as this thing turns, you guys hear this sort of soft moment, almost like a calm before the storm, as like... And then breaking past Samantha and Tamarkan, and now Persephone, just sort of peeking past as heat is sort of battering against your face. You see a wall of bright red light just breaking through this area and cutting down a considerable distance from this creature as its mouth opens up and fire rolls across the hills, scorching the earth in this great devastating breath as a wall of fire is erupted and crashes across the earth.
Fine. Just my imagination.
As the head turns and instead turns to face this last side, crawling up this hill. As Samantha, also give me a Constitution saving throw. This thing's crawling, unaware of your position, but as it does, its body rolling close, you're just washed over with this heat of flame. Oh, nice. As again, just you feel through your scales this horrible
advantage on con saves.
As immediately magic washes over you, and Samantha, your breath leaves your tiny snake lungs, and you find yourself almost unable to catch your breath. Your muscle, you're all muscle at this point, just relaxing for a moment as you find yourself unable to move, unable to act. You are incapacitated for this moment, unable to defend yourself as this thing's tail winds and rolls above you. But fortunately, as it moves, it seems to pay you no mind. As it steps here, Tamarkan, you two give me that Constitution saving throw. As again, you're sort of peering up at the edge, rock in hand, heat washing over your furry body.
He's incapacitated. Does invisibility drop?
What's that?
Does invisibility drop? She's incapacitated?
Yes,
it does. As your magic fades, but still walks past you.
As he's starting to approach from like down below, over top those people, as I see his attention go, I slowly start crawling my way down the bottom of the hill. As I get to the bottom, the magic just fades. I just squish my body up against the side.
Give me one more stealth check, Tamarkan. Still powered by Persephone's magic, but you now find yourself visible. You can actually see your hands.
37.
Ooh. As it stops in its track, claws digging into the ground. And his head turns in your direction. You can hear this growling sound growing closer, Tamarkan, as its large head looms over the cliffside, just this low growl.
As I take the stone in my right hand and just chuck it off to my right down the hill, and this...
Oh, stone goes flying. Clatters. Immediately, this dragon wrenches its claws across the ground and throws itself forward over the edge, opening its mouth.
With a bolt of ki in my legs, I just shoot off in the other direction. Thankfully, as my foot falls, quiet as can be, as I dart back into the...
Oh yeah, combined with some elven magic powering movements, as well as some special boots, not boots, sandals rather. Your footsteps are silent. And this creature looks down. You can see from the edge of its mouth, Samantha, as your magic fades and you find yourself sort of slowly but surely regaining your strength. Its mouth sort of fills with fire for a moment before it spills out with saliva and sort of dissipates as it looks down the hill.
Do not let this get the best of you, Obsidious. Just loose stones. Just dying earth. Nothing to fear.
As turning around, this large hand clasping at the pearl.
I will be back to reduce this to nothing. With the flame and power.
Try that again.
This is.
You cut out towards the end there. Please try it again.
Reduce it to nothing with...
Reduce it to nothing and then garble.
Reduce it to nothing with the flames in my hand. Power. That's what this is.
As with this pearl in hand, these wings, another wave of heat washing over the area. This creature pulls itself up toward the sky and vanishes. You can watch it rise into the air, its body heat spreading the clouds again, eventually darkening them as another spray of rain comes clattering down, helping to sort of put out some of the small fires, but most of them stay intact as this area is now very thoroughly and very wholesomely set on fire.
As I just fill
Flies
up.
away. I catch a last sneaky look.
Yeah, I just let it keep recording until I know he's out of range, and then I stop. I will give you something to be afraid of.
That worked! Oh my god!
And God, have I been able to observe this thing for maybe a total of about 10 minutes or so?
I would definitely say you do.
Not 30
Using
minutes.
things that never get used.
Yeah.
Student for.
There's a few things that I'm interested in. One, seeing the obsidian shards that are across his hide and his thick scales, but I'm trying to govern exactly how much protection it really gives him. I know I'm quite quick and sturdy. I'm wondering if he is the same way, but using armor instead. Trying to gauge what's his defenses look like. Do I think that his ability to defend himself is greater than my own at 19? Or worse?
You've fought great creatures like this before. Maybe not quite like dragons, but like you fought before, large lizards. Their hides are quite tough, but you've heard that dragon scales are like steel. You've heard that trying to cut through them is like trying to cut through a man wearing metal. But this thing is a larger, thicker scaled, and now covered in what looks like what should be easily shattered shards, but you might think that might add a buffer to its defense. You'd think this thing's defenses are considerably higher than yours, or at least somewhat higher than yours.
Mmm. Alright. And, then the other thing, strength, obviously has me beat. His sturdiness, he's a big old chunk of meat, most likely. But his ability, as he's walking around, his muscles twisting, do I see the limberness of it? Do I see that he's agile in his movements, or are they ever so slightly clumsy to my practice eye? Do I think that his dexterity is higher than lower than mine at 20?
You can tell that this thing, although large and quite heavy, it looks like its steps are slow and careful, but you would think that such beasts like them, maybe they'd be a bit more limber, but instead it looks like those slow and calculated steps were just that. Its reaction time was somewhat delayed as you threw the stone, and it looks like some magic was called by Persephone. Looked like it had to sort of pull itself almost preemptively, as it was already sort of in a paranoid state. It looks like if it was faster, it'd probably be reacting you guys quicker, able to strike down any dangers that come its way. But no, it seems like this thing, with maybe all of its great strength and weight, is actually much less limber and agile than you.
Very interesting. Wonderfully done, everyone!
So as Persephone is over there all giddy, Samantha is going. Samantha, God damn it, I'm not playing Samantha. Luna,
See? You fuckers do it too, and you're playing the characters!
but Luna is going to grab Persephone by the arm and just drag her into it like a big hug and say, "You fucking idiot! You could have gotten killed." And just kind of holds her for a second before pushing her away. All right, now stop talking.
Well, that was very touching. I will say, I did not have a chance to reapply my magic to that orb. It should glow for another half an hour or so, but from what it seems like, before it gets back to its lair, it may have a unfortunate realization. We may want to leave
We need to get out of here.
very quickly.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to go.
Samantha!
Yes, I hear you all.
It's time to go.
As Samantha slowly but surely stands back up to her full form, leaving her
Oh wait, guys,
snake
it's okay.
form behind.
He dropped the pearl right there. The pearl's right there. We're fine. We just pick it up.
I got it. No worry.
Yep.
Fuck. What was I
Oop,
doing out
butterfingers.
here again?
Oh, as he flies back in the sky and grabs it.
And like
Okay,
Samantha,
yeah, seems like
Samantha
he
sort of
flies
just
away.
looks over at Persephone, and she is always wearing some layer of mask on her face, even trying to shore up her own self-confidence as this thing flies away. But I feel like with her unnaturally high insight, she would see a crack in that mask on Samantha's face as this thing passed over her, as she has not felt smaller than something in a very, very, very long time. And locking eyes with Persephone, she would see just the slightest sense of doubt on Samantha's face before it seems to wash away in that same regal porcelain that she always wears. Well done, Persephone. I must admit, that was quite lucky, but it worked.
Yeah. As soon I didn't think I was gonna do it. It took a while. I had trouble getting into his dream, but once I was there, everything was a lot easier. But you got enough, right? We should be able to get the weapon, right?
As I just pull out the pearl from within my
Right. This is all great and everyone. We are going to be surrounded by fire if we don't put this out quickly.
Put it out. I mean, we're leaving.
It's just grassland.
Yes,
Just burn
yes,
itself
we're
up.
leaving through this way. Where all of
we can go that way.
No, it's all
I
mountains.
can't
that
draw
way.
an arrow. You can go that way or this way, or like any kind of way. As Samantha would just call upon the magic really quickly, just to say replay and just confirm the dragon's in the fucking film footage.
Okay.
Sure. You open up, you take the orb in your hand, you speak the command word, and immediately this pulse sort of opens up, and immediately like sort of a soft light expands out like a pulse of magical light. Sort of fills this bubble within 60 feet. And yeah, holding it in your hand, it's a bit shaky. The world around you that sort of presents itself. It's a bit strange. A lot of it overlaps with the hills around you, and it looks like you're holding the top of the hill on the side of the hill. And the first thing you see as you hold this thing is a moment of peace before suddenly this large shape comes careening straight down towards you. Crashing into the ground. And yeah, the scene begins to play itself out from that moment.
Yeah, then I just stop it and then put it back. And we got what we need.
So we're surrounded by grassland, correct? Like I'm just curious, like if we leave, are we gonna just condemn like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles into just Australia?
Persephone, can you stop Australia from happening, please?
Yeah.
It'll burn itself out. It's fine.
I mean, does anyone have Sleet Storm? I don't think anyone has Sleet Storm.
The whole
I
country
do.
doesn't burn
I do
down
have
every
sleep
time a
storm,
dragon
actually.
breathes somewhere.
There you go. We sleet storm it away. I hate Persephone for making it cold.
Yeah, it's pulling out some magic. You subside a great number of these flames within this vicinity, and it seems like it starts to mellow out. Some of the flames still continue to spread, but there's like a large ring now sort of dissipated. And now it's starting to
What the
subside.
fuck was that? What happened to my fire?
Hey, I got that fucking pretty good.
You did.
Yeah, good job.
All right. Look at that. Cool. As you guys make your way down the mountain, having just faced off with the creature you've been hunting, and all of you getting a taste of this strange presence. It wasn't simply standing above a strong creature, not a simple large lizard as you stood before. This thing radiated heat. Just being near it was enough to suck the strength out of you. And as Samantha experienced, that strength came with the ability to uphold her magic. But eventually, as you guys make your way down the mountain, and it seems like this strange sleet of hail and ice sort of helps buffer the fire, and maybe over time we'll start to put it out. Seems like you guys find yourselves slowly fading away from this burning hill and reaching back to the foothills that you guys traveled from.
So I
You
have
guys
to
are going
ask,
to be
I
starting
know
to make your way.
No, if I figured out what kind of weapon are we getting exactly?
I have not a clue. All I know is that it was made to kill dragons. Hopefully one of us can use it.
Alright then.
I'm sure someone will.
And
Would give us an
if we can't, then maybe there's something else that we can imbue ourselves with from those vaults. Tin made it quite clear that if we had the proof of a true dragon being so close to Cradle Keep, well, they would take it quite seriously, so...
Yeah, and based on Obsidious' dream, it's not just hanging around the mountains for nothing. I think he wants to, what most red dragons want, rule the world. His dream, what he wants, is to put everything on fire and enslave the races of Hearth. And it was horrible and brutal.
What did you see?
He was sitting on some spires of sorts, and there were humans and elves running across scorched land. These small other dragon type creatures were attacking them, almost ripping them right out of their armor, and it was brutal. He basked in it like he won a battle victoriously, like a noble who wanted everything and finally had it. And as soon as I realized that's what he wanted, I showed him where we put the pearl. And I told him it would give him power. And then I didn't let him have it, which is probably why he came to it so quickly. But it does sound like he's planning something.
Yes, it does.
You said he was resting on the ruins of some city.
Yes, there were some spires of sorts. He was just hanging out on it as if it was, I guess for him, a throne.
Can you remember anything else about the city itself?
Oh god, Melanie can't. Melanie's memory is shit.
Kind of indistinct to you.
No, nothing. Just the spire was just the most prominent thing I could remember. That's it.
The city of spires. Was it in like the plains, like Broken Ridge or something, or Crossway?
This is like
Crossway
like
doesn't
on,
have spires, right?
It definitely seemed like it was on top of some sort of mountain. Very
it was-
tall buildings, reaching high into the sky.
No, it was
Skyreach.
on. Well, it was on mountaintops, and these structures extended up into the sky as if, like, they were trees with clouds as foliage.
Hold on 1 second. Does it
Wait,
look
was
like
it-
this? As I pull out a piece of paper and I start to draw a little bit of what Skyreach looks like.
As you see Temarkon sort of carving
Do I
with the...
notice what he's drawn before Persephone does?
Oh, by the time you see the sketches, you immediately know what it is, Kuldor. It looks like this sort of large peak that eventually holds... It looks like it's actually holding a great castle in its grounds upon its summit. And yeah, as it starts to draw it, it looks like these large, tall, sharp spires forming this great castle in the sky. As to the best of your ability, Temarkon, you are something of a cartographer, so you're pretty decent at drawing shapes, although this
Not
one's
quite a
pretty
painting, but
rudimentary.
it's very much more like an architectural sketch more than anything.
Yeah, as you find yourself sort of drawing a somewhat familiar shape to a couple of you guys. Although, the state you see it in, get out of there.
Why is Clyde everywhere?
Success! Frank successful!
Why is he just
There's
on
always
every
a
high
little large
point?
cat at the top.
He made it! As, yeah, it does seem somewhat familiar, although no longer beset by flames.
Yes, exactly like that, but crushed and
No.
on fire.
That's Skyreach.
Okay, so
Isn't
he
it?
wants to destroy Skyreach.
Makes sense. It's the highest point in
Good luck with
the
that.
lands, as much as I know.
but I have sent letters to Skyreach. They were not returned. They should have been returned.
Maybe
Something is stopping them.
Do you think Skydish is under a... Well, it's been very many years since I've been there, but it doesn't seem like a place that would fall to a single...
I feel
Dragons
like
are very smart creatures. If he's been planning this for some time now, maybe there are those willing to aid him.
It did not look like he was amassing an army within his lair of sorts. Although, who's to say what is below ground?
well, whenever he leaves his cave, we don't know where he goes. He might not be attacking, but he might be intercepting things. People, mail.
When did you send these letters, Querdo?
The day we went back to Oakwell.
From Oakwell.
But a month ago.
Indeed.
Well, surely we would have heard something happening to Skyridge within the month.
Exactly.
Assuming, of course, it is strange, but it could be quite effective. But, Samantha sort of scrunches her face up in concentration, and then it just sort of goes into that sort of statuesque pose.
Do you know this person well? Maybe I could see what's going on tomorrow.
Certainly there is no way for them to stop all travelers and all hawks from leaving Skyridge to anyone, especially Condor Creep.
I mean, you felt his presence.
Yes, but still, he is only one dragon. Skyridge is... It is
Persephone,
very many people.
Yes.
I know you could not possibly forget this man, and I am sure he would be rather well informed as to what's going on in Skyreach right now, if there is something truly going on. Do you remember, Lord Arthur von Nemean IV?
The Lion Man!
Maybe reach out to him with your magic. He
You
may
know him
not
as
be
well?
in the city. We have met him personally.
He's a wonderful man.
Quite gregarious, but enjoyable if you're in the right mood.
It'll have to be tomorrow night, though. I'm afraid I can't do much for you. It takes a lot of power to go into somebody's dream and completely manipulate it.
Understandable. If only there was some way to just send messages across vast distances, almost instantaneously, but unfortunately,
Or
Do
some
not
way to
know
just
of such
look
power.
in on him, almost as if seeing him from a long distance.
if only someone invented cell phones. Anyway,
I mean, as I said, there are two things someone dreams of. Yes, something that they have done or something they wish to do.
Well, something they've done, something they've wished to do, something that might be haunting them. Dreams aren't that simple, actually. And
But
there are
didn't he
others
say
like
on
me
the hill?
who can manipulate dreams. But I do
No,
think
I'm simply saying, I highly doubt that Skyridge has fallen since... We've heard nothing about it, but maybe he wishes for such.
yeah, I think he does wish for such things. Otherwise, why would he still be up in the mountains? We would know if Skyreach fell, right?
unless he was keeping it from being known. If you had enough forces to lay siege to that city, perhaps you have enough to also keep any communications from getting out of it. Unless you have magic or something. Sending people on foot or on horseback or even by raven, well, you could, perhaps in theory, keep it from getting out. For a while, not permanently, obviously. And I'm not saying the city has fallen either, but he could have his little servants, I think they call them kobolds, working at doing that. Or perhaps it's just unfortunate that Quildor didn't get his messages. It could just be a coincidence, but that is why I said to reach out to Lord Arthur von Nemean IV.
So I'm going to stalk his dreams tomorrow night, maybe, is what we're saying.
Well, we have a few days before we even get back to Cradle Keep. It's best to be informed about the situation. No need to put him into a panic, but just checking in on
Give him an update of our
adventuring, yes.
I think me showing up in his dreams to tell him that would be just the adventure he's looking for, and then I can show him everything that we've been up to.
Sure, yes. Update him on the Valiant Vanguard's efforts by invading his dreams via magic. Sure.
Could you give him I don't even know if he would remember me, actually. Tell him Tamar Khan says hello as well.
I will do that.
He may not remember. It's been 15 years or so since last I saw him. I was but a child back then, actually.
Did you leave on good terms?
Oh, yes. I mean, not publicly, but
What did you do?
as I said, he's a fine man. My time in Skyreach was a childish affair. It was very amusing, but not too very. Thankfully, they do not incarcerate children. Well, not for very long, at least.
Samantha just takes a moment to whisper into the ring, knowing that Tamar Khan has yet to be given a decoder ring unless we double retcon that back and gave you a decoder ring.
I don't think we've given him one yet.
Or Swift Hollow. I think they're still technically not in the fan club yet. As I'll go into the decoder ring and whisper to Persephone, don't mention that we're with Tamar Khan, please.
Okay.
I will say, as we head back, I have learned a few things. I have a bit of a study diet when it comes to watching, seeing someone's capabilities. It's a sort of a talent I was given before coming to this place. I've learned a few things about our very large, very scaly, very hot friend. One, his scales are not just for show. I can defend myself quite well, but those things, and even, well, surpass me. Probably comparable to our friend Quildo over there. A man covered in metal. But I have also found a weakness. His movements are slow. He can certainly travel a great distance very quickly, wings and all of that in his size, but his reflexes, they are sluggish, compared to even a decently agile man. His reaction times are not exactly spectacular. I bet most of our group would probably best him in such a thing. If he needs to avoid strikes at his direction, I think he relies mostly upon his scales and not his speed. I think his agility, his dexterity is quite lacking.
We could use that.
Did he breathe fire out when
Yes.
he was on top?
Yes, he did.
So obviously not stand directly in front of his mouth. And make sure that we are spread out.
It seemed to spread a decent 60 feet or so.
That is going to be difficult to plan around.
Could you imagine if we managed to get on the dragon's back and just stayed there while we just attacked him relentlessly? You know how like when you get itchy between your shoulders and you can't really reach it? Let's just hide there.
That was a wonderful plan.
Oh yes, that's where we can put Tamar Khan and Quildor. We can just have them climb up his back and stab and punch him to death, and the rest of us will just not get burned.
Yeah, exactly.
I do fancy myself a good climb.
I would not risk that. I do not know what it is about that thing exactly. I'll have to ask Tin. Maybe he knows. I hope he knows something. But when that dragon moved over top of me, I could feel that heat just sap everything I had out of myself. I could not even keep my focus on my magic.
Is that what that was? Because I very much noticed when I was very visible again out in the...
Yes, I am. As Samantha almost seems to chew on the word and then spit it out. Sorry about that.
Oh no, it's alright.
Well, maybe the elixir I made can help against that. It is supposed to protect us against heat, after all.
Didn't you say in your research that magic doesn't work on these dragons all that well?
Not all that well.
Perhaps this is one of the reasons. You cannot be close to him in order to cast your magic.
No, it was maybe. But from what I read, it also was because they are literal
Made of it.
physical manifestations, yes, of magic. They don't need to speak words, and they don't really need to wave their hands like some of us other casters do. Magic just happens around them, and their hides are very, very thick.
Basically, all I'm trying to say is we need to be wary of being close to him. Since, if you cannot keep your breath, you'll find yourself just standing there, unable to move, unable to do much of anything.
Samantha, Persephone. Does poison work against the beast? From what you've researched.
In his case, I think I would know just off of quick impulse general knowledge boon thing, or do I need to roll, or?
You'd think, I mean, there are dragons of different colors. You know that there are dragons of green scale who reside in deep forests and jungles who are more serpent-like than truly lizard-like. And yeah, they sort of have this resistance to the effects of toxins, but as far as you know, no, nothing's really pointed to, dragons avoiding being sick besides just having strong constitutions.
Yeah, dragons are going to be quite hardy creatures. Most disease and most normal poisons are not going to have too much of an effect on him. Not that he's somehow magically immune to them or anything like that. He just is tough. But if you have something potent, truly potent, I would wager it should work.
Poison the body cannot fight against. Understood.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about? Your travel goes on unabated, making your way down the road, sort of lulling ideas about your head, realizing having figured out that you guys maybe have a bit more to tackle with this dragon, having given a first-hand experience of just not only how dangerous its presence is, but also just how dangerous the infamous breath of this thing can be, devastating an entire landscape in a single moment. As eventually you guys... Oh, go on.
Did you do
I
the
wanted
dream?
to try something.
Ooh.
So this is a stretch, right? It's a massive stretch. So for the next couple of days, and even for however long we are in Cradle Keep, Luna is going to try and focus on her magical abilities and kill Samantha.
It was
And
successful. You did it.
Try to recapture magic lost, since it doesn't make a lot of sense for known casters to forget spells. To try and switch Fireball back to Lightning Bolt as a spell that she used to have and kind of still remembers but not utilize.
Okay.
If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But
Roll me a straight charisma check. As you are
Ooh.
just channeling your raw power of magic, just trying to. It's been sort of evolving as you've changed and grown, and now you're trying to go back to a previous state, just trying to recapture that feeling when your magic was less destructive and far spread and more controlled and directed.
Metagamingly cast guidance on her. Never mind, not needed.
Okay. As Luna, it's gonna take you some time, but fortunately, you've taken some time in Cradle Keep trying to pull out that magic again. It feels like the energy is coursing from within your core, and it feels like finally, after some time, maybe now casting this great bolt of flame, you're able to realize that maybe seeing how great the heat of this dragon breaking through the earth itself compares to your fire, your instinct, basically your soul responds. That shadow, that quivering energy that in all of your chaotic bolts seem to almost figure out and feel out the perfect energy it takes to defeat your foe. Your magic itself seems to become chaotic for a moment, as indeed, it seems like just with that, your magic shifts, and although you with just that desire, that need to take this thing down driving you, your fire vanishes, and you find lightning bolt. But it seems as if that shift, Luna, is permanent. You cannot learn the fireball spell.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Oh.
I just want to say YouTube.
No, fucko.
God.
all right.
Damn.
Alright! Fucking alright!
I like the
Alright,
way
well,
you
we're just
think, Oben.
Okay, alright.
Yeah, that was.
I like the way you fucking think. That's spicy.
Your fire has been beaten, and your soul says no.
So I'll just replace all my fire spells.
No, cease.
One at a time.
If you roll double fire on Chaos Bolt, it just fizzles and you lose the spell slot now.
But yeah, you over time have shifted your magic almost forcibly to fit this new role, but it seems like that forcing has basically sort of narrowed your scope of magic, and that spell is now lost to you.
Love it.
While traveling, one of the Knight's Purse is gonna try to hop into Lion Man's dream. If she can.
Sure. To be fair, you guys traveled only a day away from Cradle Keep. You guys traveling fast on.
Yeah, if I
Yeah.
could have regained the spell slot, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you guys were basically on the road for a day. That's the thing. You guys traveled a day away from Cradle Keep to do this, and then you traveled back. So it'd be about a day of travel. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say by the time you guys regather, get your things, and travel back, yeah, about a day or so passes, and you return to Cradle Keep maybe the next morning. Probably traveling through the night, getting some rest. And yeah, find yourself returning to this great walled city within which you find, the tall reaching buildings, the great spires that hang above the wall, one of them seemingly devoid of a great shining pearl. How could that have ever happened? You guys find yourselves back inside. What are you doing in Cradle Keep?
Can I go with you when you show them?
I think it would be best if we were to all go, actually, if no one has
let's all go.
anything truly pressing to do.
Oh, I wish my lion charisma was higher. Nah.
To Marcon, you are beholden to certain things as a part of this. Come on.
No, I was just thinking of a opportunity of sorts, but it may just end up getting myself into trouble more than it.
Maybe if you don't say anything, they won't ask.
Just
And if they don't ask you directly, you could just dodge the question.
No. It is nothing. It is nothing like that. It is. Well, it is really Swiss all decision. It is a pearl, but I was simply thinking that the city would probably be very joyful to have the very large pearl. I was thinking maybe telling them of how we saw the dragon with a large pearl within its grasp flying up. That we could retrieve it for them, but.
I mean,
Well, I have a
on
way of
the-
embellishing things, and people do not always believe my voice.
but to Marcon,
It's
Yes?
on
On video.
Persephone points to like Samantha and like she tries to silhouette the holding of an orb.
It's on there. You can see the dragon pick it up.
But then
True
will not the
enough.
question be, how did it get there in the first place?
Who says it's like the other ones? It was glowing.
I think it would be best not to even mention it.
Exactly. If we don't mention it, maybe they won't ask.
What does it do?
Then I'll
They
lie.
say... Anyway. So we say we saw the dragon, we chased it, and we found it picking up this pearl in the middle of nowhere.
No.
No, we can tell
The
them
best
truth.
lies are covered in
Partial
truth.
truths.
So we were simply heading out, going back to where we know this dragon was, and trying to think of a way to get footage of it. And as we were traveling back up the road down towards Mount Cot, we were ambushed by bandits. The bandit leader had this strange case with this pearl in it. Said and done, moving right along.
I don't understand why we can't just say that we put up. We have gemstones. We've acquired gemstones. We're adventurers.
Persephone, that pearl is extraordinarily large.
Okay, and it was glowing. Who says it has to be one of their pearls?
I'm not saying it is one of their pearls. I'm just saying we found it on whoever it is that stole it.
Okay. That's what's for me.
It's like, oh, hey, where did you find that pearl? Oh, we were ambushed by bandits on the way to Mount Cot. We killed the bandits as they tried to take our stuff, and we found that stuff on them, including this really large pearl. It was at that point that we had the idea.
Okay, well, something I learned from Swift Hollow through coming up with that dream is less is more.
That was
You don't have
fairly
to talk
minimal.
No. We just set up a trap to lure it.
Yeah, but the pearl is in the video,
That
like you
spot.
said.
Oh my god. Okay, fine.
It's right
It's going
there.
to be quite wonderful to watch.
Did he?
You're the one that reminded me that it was there.
I didn't actually think the pearl was going to be a problem, but then there's the recording thing. True enough, they will.
How about this? If they ask about the pearl directly, then you can make up whatever story.
That's
you'd
exactly
like.
what I was going to do.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay.
Persephone,
I'm glad
do you really think I don't know how to lie?
I think you just like to dive into stories and just start volunteering lies that don't need to be volunteered. But if we're not going to walk in and just tell them about these bandits or whatever, then we're fine. Samantha, you have a lot of these crazy ideas, but you don't always think them through.
Yes, I have come to realize that on the many, many months I have been dealing with my life after the White Sands. I got it, Persephone.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
Then I will leave it in your hands. Wonderful.
Okay.
Shall we go to the vault?
Yes.
No, we need to go to the library. 10 is not going to be at the vaults.
Lead the way.
Library, and then vault.
All right. Party with your things in tow, you make your way into the great and infamous Untold Archives of Cradle Keep. These great libraries that only some of you seem to have access to the majority of. You guys enter inside, you see these tall shelves that line these walls with these sort of openings, windows, even a loft above, shedding out bits of golden sunlight down on this cacophony of knowledge, just books and basically shelves lined with books and scrolls and all sorts of literature everywhere. You guys walk along this walkway. You're greeted by some tome keepers who sort of wave their hand. And now that you actually notice it, Samantha and Luna, as they sort of give you like a gentle wave, you can see like that mark on their hand actually become a bit apparent, realizing that, oh, that's actually what marks someone as a tome keeper.
Yeah,
Same
I
mark that you guys share
politely
on your own.
return their greetings, showing
So you
my own
are
mark.
tome keepers.
Yes.
Seems like it.
I wasn't going to let them deface my body if I wasn't going to be a tome keeper.
and they just sort of just casually let you enter, seeing the Tomekeeper marks.
They're with
Am
me
I
and
allowed to
her.
enter as well, or do we have to stand out?
We're with her.
Certainly. Are you going somewhere looking for someone in particular? I mean, we have certain
I need to
certain
speak
walls
with
here. I
Tin.
mean, I guess you want to guide them. Oh, yes, certainly he's here. One moment, we'll fetch him.
Let
He's
him
in the
know
deeper
it's
archives.
Samantha Deus. He'll be somewhat ecstatic,
Oh,
I'm sure.
you're Samantha Deus. Wow. All right, yes, we'll get him right away.
Yes, yes.
What's that supposed to be?
You do something.
As you see him, he has a certain surprised expression, looking you over, and then immediately turns pale and walks away.
What did you
As
do?
as everyone, you see some of the Tomekeepers. Oh, that is her. Wow, okay. As after a few moments
You
pass,
always
yeah.
think the worst, Persephone.
It seems as if you're well respected within these walls, Samantha.
Thank you, Quildor. I swear, for someone so insightful, learn to read a room.
One of the roadmen actually kind of approaches Samantha Deus, right?
Yes.
I have to ask you a very important question. How did you just manage to sit there and listen to him talk for so long? Most of us can't make it past an hour. How did you stay for days? That's amazing.
Patience, diligence, and, well, you have to really, really want what it is he has to say. If he was talking
Certainly,
about,
most-
I don't know, fish or something, I would have fallen asleep just like the rest of you, but I needed information on dragons, so I was awake.
It's just a matter of listening to him talk about anything he involves himself with, and then you lose the topic, but wow. Bravo, I must say, bravo. You were the first, I believe, in possibly last century to make it as long as you did. You see immediately as he turns around, you can see a shape sort of moving with the other Tomekeepers as they part, sort of return themselves to their positions. As you see this older male, long, flowing beard and elegant robes approach you.
See,
My
Persephone,
star pupil, there you are.
well respected.
Well,
Returned, I assume you've come back with, well,
what you
precious
asked
lore
of me.
to share.
Exactly. This is the Valiant Vanguard. My, second in command, Luna, also a Tomekeeper, along with the rest of the Vanguard. We have just come back from what needed to be done. If we could, of course, speak somewhere privately.
An excellent-looking group indeed. Come, one moment. As he puts a finger to the side of his head, his eyes sort of stare off in the distance for a moment. He blinks a couple times and pulls away.
Sorry, Peter, you died.
Give us one moment. We're going to... I had to spend a moment to convene the others. We were going to be heading up, actually, into the upper rafters of this place. Up, yes, indeed. If you would all join me, hold still for just one moment.
I hold still
As
like a statue.
hands gently waves across all of you, sort of just like barely moving his hand in front of you, just like within 5 feet or so. And there's a sort of wash sensation and sort of like this strange feeling of levity to you. All right, follow me. As he turns around, this sort of billow of his robe, as he starts walking up to along the walkway around this area until he finds like a set of stairs going higher and higher, and then sort of going another level higher, going to the top of this building until eventually you reach like an edge to this ledge where the shelves are starting to grow thin and there's no more walkway. And he starts walking off the edge, and eventually his feet just step off and continue to walk along the air ever so gently, as if he's just simply walking on nothing. Off towards this, it looks like a doorway, sort of leading deeper into the mountain. But again, there's no walkway to get there. It simply looks like he takes some sort of magic.
Persephone's gonna get to the edge of the stairs and just like dip her toe into the air.
Well, you dip your toe to the air, and your toe kind of dips down a little bit, sort of just like there's nothing there. Walk with confidence, young woman.
I walk with boldness and authority wherever I go. Just don't even look
Straight
at the edge. Just walk right behind him.
walking down Couloir, just looking ahead, pure confidence in your movements. You feel like the slightest dip in your step as you walk off the edge, and then immediately this like weight pulling up against your feet as it feels like you're just flying. Not sure like a bird, not like a fish through the water. You're simply just conjuring magic to keep you aloft in the air, and you're just walking towards this opening.
None of you are afraid of heights.
Persephone goes after Quill, excited now.
Yeah, this time you just take a step, and now you find your like you realize at this point, if you're wanting to walk, you can walk, but truly, you're like even stopping your movements and you're sort of hovering for a moment. You have magical flight lofting you along.
This is so cool.
If I have magical flight lofting me along, then Samantha just gently hovers across. Then.
Oh yeah, no moving, just.
Yeah, I sort of bob back and forth, just ever so slightly in an S pattern across the air. Almost unconsciously. I'm not even consciously doing it. I'm just naturally moving that way.
Mm-hmm. Guys just flying your way up, making your way towards the center.
I'm just swimming through the air.
You seem like a backstroke kind of person, yeah.
Looney Tunes type of shit right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
As you get to see down the lower levels, some of the Tome Keepers, even the visitors of this place, have stopped to just sort of watch you guys go to the highest point. You guys are like at least like 50 or 60 feet above the main level. So it seems like, yeah, you guys are like a little higher above and just watching you guys swim across the air. And eventually you guys make your way towards, look like another one of these large windows, but it doesn't lead to a room of light. Instead it leads to a room of like torchlight. Not sunlight, but like artificial light. You guys make your way walking down the torchlight. Usually you're walking by, realize there's no heat. No energy, no warmth, which is kind of maybe a relief from what you guys experienced recently. No, it seems like just warm magical light leading you down this hallway until eventually you come to this great expansive chamber that's now almost empty. You see like as like a stadium of sorts, like seats and rafters up along, possibly where audience or members come to discuss would be sitting, but instead they're left relatively empty. As instead, walking down this long walkway past a pair of now open doors, which, as you walk through, you see this sort of open and shut as Ten leads the way, and as you push them open yourself, Ten is not where he was. Instead, he finds himself seated about, let's say, about 60, 70 feet away from you on a high loft in this great open sort of council chamber, and he's not alone. In this chamber, you find a great circle of what looks like 7 other individuals sitting in great high chairs, each of them sort of interesting in their appearance. They're all men, it appears, with long, dark brown hair, some long, some short, some silver, and some graying. As you find yourself standing in this great council chamber of what looks to be the incantation of 10, as that is where we will end tonight's session.
That sounds very impressive.
Alright, so I'm going to be the first female member of the Incantation of 10. I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Right
The first non-white male.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, look, we have Matthew Mercer again!
Male.
We have Matt Mercer
Matthew
again!
Mercer!
Keanu Reeves! No, that was the Matt Mercer Keanu Reeves combo is what that guy was.
Oh no!
Look at all these old
They all
white men.
Wait, but they
Oh,
all
there's
have
Doc.
freckles on their forehead.
Yep, Doc's been here the whole time.
That's 10. That's the guy I've been training with, or learning with.
I don't know, that's like a
That's
combination
him!
of
That's
Doc
him!
and
That's my
Grierden.
friend! What's that?
It's like a combination of Doc and Grierden.
The second to last one, yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's
I ate my
brother.
brothers!
hey, doors!
Oh, I like pickles. Pickles.
As that's all I got, baby. The Valiant Vanguard will be rejoined as they enter the council chamber to speak on their behalf to the Incantation of 10, the governing magocracy. Magic Council that rules over the entirety of the ancient city Cradle Keep.
It bothers me that there's only 8 of them. All right. God, that was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to... I'm just looking forward to playing some more. God, can we just like skip to next Thursday and just keep playing? Can we do that? Can we cast
All right, you
like
heard
a
him. We're
spell?
gonna cancel the game on Tuesday just so we can get to Thursday quicker. Got it.
You don't want to go fight the dragon, John?
City to stay you want
I
to
mean,
do.
we ain't fighting the dragon next session. Come on.
Yeah, but that's
many
one
people.
session
Relax.
in front of. That's like another session separating us from the dragon fight. We gotta skip all the like talky blah blah sessions so that way you can get your cool dragon slaying pike or whatever it's gonna be and stab the dragon to death. You know you want to cut the head off a dragon. It's been so long, Lannister. Where's it at? Where's the? Come on, Lannister.
It's true. Gotta cut me a dragon.
You haven't killed a dragon in like 4 to 8 months, maybe. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that is all we have for you tonight with Song of Rapture. It has been an absolute blast, an absolute terrifying, death-defying, by the skin of our teeth, not melting and getting burned out in a field somewhere. Here lie the Valiant 7, the crisp, charred remains. I hope you enjoyed tonight's session. I hope it has been a ton of fun. I hope to see you again in the future, as we'll be back with more D&D right here on Lionhead Gaming. We'll be returning this Tuesday, after the Apex Alliance have just annihilated a Stormhorn war camp. We'll be returning to, not Borskir Bridge, Hardbuckle, with the leader of Hardbuckle, Jacqueline Melanie Ruthdal, thank you, Ruthdal, in tow, after successfully destroying that war camp, and hopefully being able to, figure out basically what happened to Lucas's dad, for one. That is one interesting little thing, and also figure out what they can do to help the city under siege, and if the High Moors battle plan of going around the city and striking at the supply lines and then sort of meeting in the middle for a siege break, if that will work out, and what the role is that they will play in that crazy war campaign. Tune in Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Right here on Lionhead Gaming. You can also come right on back next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Lionhead Gaming for some more Song of Rapture, as we meet the Council of 10 and we find out what cool hyper Power Rangers gear they can outfit us with to go take on this dragon and then swiftly return to them.
Dragon slaying Megazord.
Oh god, I'd be so happy. I want to, come on, give us a robot. Give us a big old robot we climb inside of. I don't care if it's goofy. I want to do it. It's D&D, goddammit.
It's the dragon
It's
slaying
real to
dragon.
me, man.
It's just another dragon.
Oh yeah, we'll just get us it's Mecha Godzilla to fight Godzilla. Boom. So be sure to tune in next Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on Lionhead Gaming for more Song of Rapture. And there is no game this Sunday, but the following Sunday, coming soon, right here to Lionhead Gaming. The 9th of February, Heroes of Thylea begins its odyssey of sorts. So be sure to tune in at 5 o'clock p.m. Eastern, February 9th, 2020, right here on Lionhead Gaming. That's a Sunday, to see myself behind the screen DMing for some of the wonderful faces you see here, along with some that you don't. So be sure to tune in for that. There are VODs on the channel of some Session 0 activities we got up to there, along with some audio captured and uploaded to our wonderful new podcast, which you can check out at anchor.fm/Lionhead Gaming, or you can search for Lionhead Gaming TTRPG podcast, basically on anything you use for podcasting, whether it be Google, Spotify, or like any of the smaller services that people are fans of. With that, all I have left to do is plug Twitter and Discord. Be sure to hop in our wonderful Discord and hang out with us and talk about D&D and watch me and Brendan argue about whether or not players should have flying at level 3. I think it's fine. He thinks it's bad. He's wrong. So be sure to hop
Level
in.
3? You mean level 1?
It's whatever.
We're talking
play
about.
level 1. It's fine. Level 1 doesn't exist for us, so it's not relevant.
Only for babies.
Exactly.
Flying babies.
And so be sure to check out the Discord. Be sure to check out our wonderful Twitter as well. You can see updates from me and also discussions about the games and just my opinions on things going on in the TTRPG space and all that kind of stuff. And we're gonna go ahead and host somebody else playing some D&D. And as always, may your dice roll 20s and you always make your saves.